So good evening everyone. Long time no see. कब हुई थी हमारी लास्ट क्लास? हाँ राइट टाइम हो गया ना. Right. So thankfully we have a fresh topic. CDM. Right. तो अभी तो background तो ज़्यादा कुछ खास है नहीं. So background is like in 1929. So basically background is like this. In 1927 there is what you call as Simon Commission. It has no Indians. They say that Indians they should have right to framing of their constitution. In response we set up Nehru report. We set up what you call as all party conference APC, which sets up a Nehru committee. That is like a subcommittee, which gives the Nehru report in August 1928. Right. After that, because of that Nehru report of August 1928, there is what you call as collision or conflict with Muslim League, right? Their 4 Delhi proposals of 1927, 3 Calcutta amendments of 1928, they are not accepted, and therefore in March 1929, Muslim League gives 14-point demands. These demands are nothing but they are like their political agenda for the foreseeable future, right? Simultaneously, on the Indian side, you have the Simon Commission, which comes to India in October 1928. Anti-Simon Commission protests take place. Lala Lajpat Rai dies in Lathi charge. So parallelly, your Lahore conspiracy case, etc., on the revolutionary side will take place, right? And uske baad kya hai? So therefore, your anti-Simon Commission agitations they take place. Then we basically demand in 1928 we say that either in 1 year you give us dominion status as per the Nehru report, or we are going to adopt your Purn Swaraj as the goal, and we will launch a civil disobedience movement for it, right? 1929 is about to come, that is 1 year is about to get over. So therefore Irwin makes a statement called Diwali Declaration, whereby he says that dominion status we will give you, but we will give you in future, by saying that Montagu statement के अंदर inherent था dominion status. That dominion status was implicit in the Montagu statement of 1970, right? So gradual Swaraj, it actually meant gradually we will give you dominion status, ऐसा Irwin statement 1929 October में कहा, right? So therefore now the time has come, December 1929, INC adopts Purn Swaraj as the goal, and INC empowers All India Congress Committee to launch a civil disobedience movement to achieve that goal whenever you feel that the time is right. What was the problem? The problem was that there were certain sections who were not in favor of a civil disobedience movement. Non-INC sections like Communist Party of India, under directions from Comintern, right? Comintern and International Organization of All Communist Parties, it was opposing the INC and its CDM. Muslim League obviously opposing INC and the CDM. Other political parties, because CDM will be a movement by the INC and therefore it will lead to political gains for the INC. So other political parties, they were also not supporting the CDM. Within the INC, your Muslim leaders, they were not supporting because they felt that if they will go to the Muslim neighborhoods who are under the influence of the Muslim League, then it would be better that if there is an INC Muslim League unity, like the Lucknow Pact of 1916, so that when the INC Muslim leaders, they go to the Muslim population, the Muslim population does not give any backlash, right? Muslim population welcomes them rather than telling them to go out of the neighborhood, right? So aisa tha. Middle classes, that is the capitalists, they were unsure that already Great Depression 1929 had begun in October. What will be the negative impact on the business if at this particular point of time the workers they start going on strike, right? And the importers of the British goods, that is Indian importers of British goods, that is the traders, they are like already because of depression the demand is down. What if boycott of British goods also begins? What will be the impact on our business, right? So therefore because of this hesitation, Mahatma Gandhi gave 11-point demands. Those 11-point demands लिखवाई नहीं थी मैंने, अभी लिखवा दूंगा, बहुत सिंपल सी हैं, रैंडम टाइप की डिमांड्स थी, ठीक है, सम पेजेंट इशूज, सम जनरल इशूज, सम मिडिल क्लास इशूज, राइट? इट वाज बेसिकली a time buying tactic, right? When those were rejected by Irwin, right? Irwin 2631, that is 1926 to 1931. So in 1930 finally Mahatma Gandhi had to launch civil disobedience movement, right? So that is the background, right? So अभी एक बार MG 11-point demands लिख लो. लिखवा दी थी, नहीं लिखवाई तो देखो लिखो देखो लिखो। MG's 11 point demands 1930, MG's 11 point demands 1930, MG's 11 point demands 1930. Write down. Decrease military expenditure. फर्स्ट पॉइंट डिक्रीज मिलिट्री एक्सपेंडिचर, पुरानी है, वही कहानी चल रही, तब से यही रोए जा रहे हैं लोग। मतलब कि बिफोर आईएनसी ऑल्सो, बिफोर आईएनसी फॉर्मेशन ऑल्सो, तब से यही कहे जा रहे हैं डिक्रीज मिलिट्री एक्सपेंडिचर। इनकी सुन कौन रहा है? इनकी सुन कौन रहा है? ठीक है, खैर बिना खड़क बिना ढाल दे दी हमें आजादी। डिक्रीज मिलिट्री एक्सपेंडिचर एंड सैलरीज, decrease military expenditure and salaries. Next, इतनी टेंशन है उसे। prohibition on liquor, prohibition on liquor, prohibition on liquor. Next, release prisoners, release prisoners, release prisoners. Next, CID, CID, CID under popular ministers, CID under popular ministers. That is CID under popular ministers, that is in brackets डाला आगे transferred subject बना दो इसको, that is transferred subject। पुलिस को transferred subject बनाइए, secret पुलिस को transferred subject बनाइए, that is transferred subject। Next, 3 middle class issues, 3 middle class issues, dash, make exchange rates, make exchange rates and tariffs, make exchange rates and tariffs favorable to Indian businesses, favorable to Indian businesses, favorable to Indian businesses, and promote Indian shipping, and promote Indian shipping, and promote Indian shipping. Next, 5 कितने लिखवा थे? 1 2 3 4, ठीक है, 4 हो गए, 4 3 7, 7 3 10 और 1 11, ठीक है। नेक्स्ट, पेजेंट इश्यूज, पेजेंट इश्यूज नहीं, एक वो तीसरा भी तो लिख लो इसमें, प्लस एक और लिख लो, प्लस डिक्रीज टैक्सेस, प्लस डिक्रीज टैक्सेस, प्लस डिक्रीज टैक्सेस, तुम्हारे लिए बैठे। नेक्स्ट, 3 पेजेंट इश्यूज, 3 पेजेंट इश्यूज इज इक्वल टू 50% डिक्रीज इन LR, 50% डिक्रीज इन LR, 100 ही मांग लिए होते, 50% डिक्रीज इन LR प्लस मेक LR ट्रांसफर्ड सब्जेक्ट, मेक LR ट्रांसफर्ड सब्जेक्ट, मेक LR ट्रांसफर्ड सब्जेक्ट प्लस abolish salt tax, abolish salt tax and end government salt monopoly, abolish salt tax and end government salt monopoly, government salt monopoly। ठीक, next write down the heading CDM 1930-34, CDM civil disobedience movement 1930-34, CDM civil disobedience movement 1930-34, civil disobedience movement CDM 1930-34। अखिल इज आस्किंग हाउ मच मोर क्लासेस ऑफ MIH लेफ्ट। क्या बोर हो गए क्या यार अखिल मेरे से तुम? आई नो यार, क्लासेस अभी 36 में हो जाना चाहिए अगर ये सवाल नहीं पूछेगा और ये नहीं पूछेगी तो। नेक्स्ट राइट ऑन CDM 1930-34, दिल तोड़ दिया तो। 1930-34, हाँ पूछो क्या पूछना रहता है। अभी तो टॉपिक स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं, अभी तो टॉपिक स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं, अभी लिखवाएंगे फैक्टर्स। हाँ जी आप पूछिए। 26 जनवरी 1930 वाला। हाँ तो टेकिंग रावी नदी के किनारे क्या? ऐसे कैसे बात कर रहे हो तुम? क्या रावी नदी के किनारे क्या? क्या करें झाड़ियों में क्या? क्या क्या बातें बोले जा रहे हो तुम? हम वो तो इंडिपेंडेंस प्लेज है ना, तुम क्या बातें कर रहे हो? वही थोड़ी बोल रहे हो तुम, तो पता नहीं क्या क्या बोल रहे हो, नदी के किनारे पता नहीं क्या। तो इंडिपेंडेंस प्लेज लेनी है कि भाई 26 ऑन 26 ऑफ जनवरी, ठीक है, विल बी टेकिंग प्लेज, इंडिपेंडेंस प्लेज, विल डिक्लेयर दैट वी आर इंडिपेंडेंट। फिर तुम वहीं पहुंच गए वहीं पे क्यों के, वो तो लोकेशन तो देखो स्टैटिकली चूज किया कर लिया जाता है, बट ऐसा थोड़ी, बट वो तो इट विल बी गिवन लाइक टू ऑल, टू एवरीवन। वो तो डिपेंड करता है कहाँ पे सेशन है क्या है, मतलब मेरे को वो नहीं पता कि एग्जैक्टली उस वाली जगह पे भी, बट वो तो हाँ 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 एक सेकंड, बट वैसे मैं बता दूं तो हर इंडियन को बुलाया जाए कि आप डिक्लेयर कर दीजिए। हाँ जी वहाँ पे क्यों, वहाँ पे राग, हाँ वो ठीक है। अच्छा वो ठीक है मतलब, बट हाँ ठीक है चलो, हिस्ट्री से कुछ रहेगा कनेक्शन, है ना? क्या बातें करते हो? राइट, सो राइट डाउन सिविल डिसोबीडियंस मूवमेंट 1930-34। सो फर्स्ट सब पॉइंट राइट डाउन रीजंस। रीजंस डैश, राइट। सो अब इन्होंने जो क्वेश्चन पूछा था कि भाई व्हाट आर द इंटरनेशनल फैक्टर्स और व्हाट आर द फैक्टर्स। सो इंटरनेशनल फैक्टर्स देखिए हमेशा ऐसा है दैट बिकॉज ऑफ व्हाट एवर फैक्टर्स, राइट, डोमेस्टिक और इंटरनेशनल, जनता के अंदर आक्रोश होना चाहिए, पीपल दे शुड बी एंग्री, right? And then the politicians, they will come and they will try to channelize this anger against the Britishers, right? So when there was anger against the Spanish flu and anger against the war inflation during the World War I, so therefore Mahatma Gandhi tried to channelize it in the form of Rowlatt Satyagraha of 1919 and your non-cooperation and Khilafat movement, or Khilafat and non-cooperation movement of 1920-22, Khilafat 1920 से 24। अभी यहाँ पे क्या है, ग्रेट डिप्रेशन है, दैट इज द बिगेस्ट एक्सटर्नल फैक्टर, राइट। सो बिकॉज ऑफ द ग्रेट डिप्रेशन द होल इकोनॉमी इज डाउन, दैट मीन्स पीपल, वर्कर्स, हु आर द मासेस, वर्कर्स एंड पेजेंट्स, right? So workers, they will not be able, they are having very low wages because as such there is no protection to the workers, minimum wages act ऐसा कुछ है नहीं। So therefore when because of depression, either their wages are further reduced or they are removed from the job, right? So therefore it is very very tough for the workers to cope up with the depression, right? Usually in the depression what happens, in the depression demand is less, है ना, demand goes down. When demand goes down, so naturally what you call as the wages also, the prices will also go down, right? But the problem is wages, they go down faster than the prices. Wages, they go down faster than the prices, and therefore there is still real inflation. That is still, it becomes tough for the poor person to buy the products. So in depression, prices they go down, but wages they go down faster, right? Why do the wages they go down faster? वैसे topic it is of economics, but depression means lack of demand, right? So in the market forces, the supply always matches the demand, right? So demand itna tha, so factories they were producing this much. Accordingly, employment need was also this much, right? That means more and more workers were employed. Now when demand falls, so naturally the supply will also be brought down. Why the capitalists will randomly produce more and more goods, right? Automatically he will either decrease the costs, he would like to decrease his costs because his profits are coming down, because supply is coming down, so वो कम बेच पा रहा है चीजें. So either he will lay off the workers because so many workers are not required, or he will reduce the wages of the workers. He would still like to be in profits, right? So this is how in the depression your demand also comes down and your prices also come down, but your wages also come down, right? And therefore trouble will be there for the poor sections. So this will lead to anger among the working class. The peasants, so therefore when depression is there, so demand of everything goes down. People they will also stop eating excess. People they will also, एक सेकेंड वो कह रहे हैं कि थोड़ा सा साउंड, स्पीकर का साउंड मतलब पीछे जो आवाज आ रही है या स्लो आ रही है, अभी ठीक आ रही है? नहीं, हेलो आ तो रही है आवाज, तो आ रही है माइक में, तो आवाज आ रही है, ठीक है, थोड़ा आवाज बढ़ा दीजिए, ठीक है, हो जाएगा। अतुल कौन है? हाथ तो खड़ा कर दो। अच्छा हाँ, तो वहीं से बोल देते यार, तुम वहां पर टाइप वाइप क्या करे जा रहे हो? ठीक है, उसके अलावा व्हाट इज दी, अभी तो ठीक आ रही है आवाज, मैं ही धीरे बोल रहा शायद से, है ना। उसके बाद क्या है कि व्हेन डिप्रेशन हैपेंस, सो डिमांड ऑफ फूड आल्सो कम डाउन, right? That means earlier if the people they are having extra food etc, मतलब they come to subsistence living, right? So demand of rice, मतलब prices, the crash of everything in a depression, prices of everything crash, right? Because people don't have money in their pockets, right? So therefore price of wheat and rice, it will also crash. But the land revenue remained high, the land revenue it remained high, while the earnings of the peasants it is coming down, because the prices of wheat and rice they are coming down. Because look from the side of seller, till now we look at the prices from the side of buyer, now you look from the side of seller. So therefore in the agriculture sector the peasant is the seller, and therefore the prices of wheat and rice they have come down, and therefore his earnings have gone down. But one of his costs, that is the land revenue, it is still also it is still high, right? And therefore as a result there is anger among the peasants, right? Cash crop prices they will also come down, right? So therefore that will also hurt the income of the peasants, those who are growing cash crops like raw cotton, raw jute, etc. And therefore this is the anger which is there in the minds of the people, right? And now Mahatma Gandhi is going to tap into this anger by asking the people, or by telling the people, that if the Britishers were not there, then he would have been able to manage things better, right? So therefore call for Swaraj. And Mahatma Gandhi uses the trigger point, or uses the pinch of this thing, salt issue. Because जब इतनी गरीबी है, when so much of this poverty it is there, so therefore each rupee matters, right? And if there is a tax on salt which can be produced by simply evaporating seawater, right? So if there is tax on salt also, so therefore that tells us the villainous side of the British government, that even when this depression is there, these people they are still interested in having a tax on salt, right? And they do not allow anyone else to manufacture salt. So why should not the people of India, they should have the right to manufacture salt by simply evaporating the seawater? कम से कम इस गरीबी में तो ये allow कर दो, at least in depression you allow this, right? Plus Mahatma Gandhi, so therefore Britishers they underestimated the issue of salt, they thought that this salt issue क्या होता है, right? So but Mahatma Gandhi had taken a decision that one of our primary demand is going to be abolition of salt tax, and also right to make salt to every Indian, right? That simply evaporate the seawater and you will be able to have salt. Right, this kind of scenario. So Britishers thought कि तो random sin demand है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं. But the problem is Mahatma Gandhi was always in sync with the feeling of Indians, right? So he knew that for the poor man, how much this small salt tax and lack of having the right to manufacture salt, it hurts, right? Second thing, Mahatma Gandhi wanted to build unity, because because your salt it is eaten by lower caste, upper caste, Hindu, Muslim, women, men, everyone. Right? So therefore, no one can say that this particular issue of salt is specifically for the benefit of Indian National Congress, because the issue of salt it impacts everyone. It crosses the barriers of language, religion, everything, caste, it's everything. Right? So therefore, this is how Mahatma Gandhi tried to build unity also with respect to this thing. ठीक है, तो ऐसा बेसिकली करके right? So broadly, and political reasons तो हमें पता ही है, that the Britishers they are not reacting to the मतलब वो तो start हो जाओ, Simon Commission had no Indians, then you can mention that Nehru report was not accepted by the Britishers, right? Irwin's statement was nothing but a false, they said we will give you dominion status in future, right? Delhi Manifesto, जब ने कहा कि round table conference they should act as a constituent assembly, that was also rejected, right? And politically we adopted the goal of Purna Swaraj in 1929 itself, right? So political reasons so already we have covered. Right, so please write down reasons is equal to first sub point. Reason is equal to first sub point. Political developments covered above. Political developments covered above. Political developments covered above. Dash Simon Commission 1927. Simon Commission 1927, comma Simon Commission 1927, comma non-acceptance of Nehru report, non-acceptance of, वो ठीक है फिर डिटेल में जाते हैं, आप सिंपली नेहरू रिपोर्ट लिख लीजिए, वो सब हम डिटेल में बहुत पहले कर चुके हैं, आप सिंपली लिखिए नेहरू रिपोर्ट 1928, नेहरू रिपोर्ट 1928, नेहरू रिपोर्ट 1928, comma rejection of Delhi Manifesto, rejection of Delhi Manifesto 1929, rejection of Delhi Manifesto 1929, comma rejection of MG's 11-point demands. Rejection of MG's 11-point demands. Rejection of MG's 11-point demands. ठीक. Second point, MG's 11-point demands. Second point, तुम बोलते भी तो ऐसे हो सर वो नदी किनारे क्या ऐसे कौन बोलता है ऐसे बोलता है कभी देखना इसका कि सर वो ऐसे ऐसे आता है याद आ गया हंसी नहीं जा रही मेरी. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट. सेकेंड पॉइंट, इकोनॉमिक ग्रीवेंसेस. इकोनॉमिक ग्रीवेंसेस. Economic grievances created by GD 1929. GD 1929. Great Depression 1929. Example crash in prices of cash crops. Crash in prices of cash crops. Crash in prices of cash crops. Plus decline in prices of wheat and rice. Plus decline in prices of wheat and rice. Decline in prices of wheat and rice. Therefore, farm income decreased. Therefore, farm income decreased. Therefore, farm income decreased. But LR remained constant. But LR same. Farm income decreased, but LR same. Full stop. Money lenders stopped lending. Money lenders stopped lending. And demanded repayment of past loans. Money lenders stopped lending and demanded repayment of past loans. And demanded repayment of past loans. Repayment of past loans. Full stop. Next point. Workers also impacted. Workers also impacted. Workers also impacted due to low wages. Due to low wages and rising unemployment. Due to low wages and rising unemployment. Rising unemployment. Therefore, masses were restless. Therefore, masses were restless. And this contributed to launch of CDM. Masses were restless, and this contributed to launch of CDM. And this contributed to launch of CDM. Launch of CDM. Right? Next independent paragraph point. Salt had potential to unite Indians. Salt had potential to unite Indians. Salt had potential to unite Indians. Therefore, MG made it focus. Therefore, MG made it primary focus. Therefore, MG made it primary focus. Salt had potential to unite Indians. Therefore, MG made it primary focus. MG made it primary focus. Also, full stop also. Muslim League, also ML 1906. Also ML 1906. Could not, ML 1906, could not argue that demands related to salt are for benefit of INC politically. Are for benefit of INC politically. Are for benefits of INC politically. Or are Hindu demands. Or are Hindu demands. Or are Hindu demands. Or are Hindu demands. Next, write down subheading plan. plan. So महात्मा गांधी को ऑलवेज, मतलब महात्मा गांधी हमेशा मूवी दिखाते हैं, ठीक, मतलब महात्मा गांधी कहते हैं देखो 2 स्टेज प्लान है ना. इन द नॉन कॉपरेशन मूवमेंट ऑल्सो उन्होंने मूवी दिखाई दैट इन द फर्स्ट फेज 1 year विल डू नॉन कॉपरेशन एंड देन इन द सेकंड फेज वी आर गोइंग टू डू सिविल डिसोबीडियंस मूवमेंट. ठीक है, फिर पिक्चर बीच में बंद कर दी. ठीक, इंटरमिशन के बाद कुछ हुआ ही नहीं, नथिंग हैपेंड आफ्टर इंटरमिशन, right? And here also Mahatma Gandhi says 2-phase plan. So plan is 2-phase plan, right? So because Mahatma Gandhi MG style is he gradually builds tempo. Remember we did in your Bardoli Satyagraha, it is MG style to gradually build tempo. So that is why he will always have stages, right? It also reflects what you call as organization, that he is very organized, right? So plan dash first sub point. CDM planned in 2 phases. CDM planned in 2 phases. CDM planned in 2 stages, ऐसा लिख लो, in 2 stages. CDM planned in 2 stages. Dash in first stage, dash in first stage, comma, marches by leaders in coastal areas. Marches by leaders in coastal areas. Marches by leaders in coastal areas for illegal manufacture of salt. For illegal manufacture of salt. For illegal manufacture of salt. That is CDM against salt law. That is CD against salt law. That is CD against salt law. Plus boycott of British institutions and goods. Boycott of British institutions and goods. Boycott of British institutions and goods. Right? So this is the first stage. Full stop. Second stage dash. Second stage to include. Second stage to include. Second stage to include. No revenue campaign. No revenue campaign in Ryotwari and Mehalwari areas. In Ryotwari and Mehalwari areas. No revenue campaign in Ryotwari and Mehalwari areas. And no Chaukidari tax. And no Chaukidari tax campaign. No Chaukidari tax campaign in Zamindari areas. In Zamindari areas. No Chaukidari tax campaign in Zamindari areas. So the logic is you want to find an agenda. Goal is agenda against the British, right? Goal is agenda against the British. But in your Zamindari areas, masses they are peasants plus workers. Masses, that is peasants. Masses, that is peasants. They pay rents not to British but to Indian zamindars. But to Indian zamindars. And therefore masses के लिए जो core most important thing होती है, that is the amount of money which is going out of the money which is going out of their pockets. And therefore in the zamindari areas the villain is Indian. For the masses the villain is Indian. So वहां क्या करें? In the Ryotwari and Mehalwari areas no problem. In Ryotwari areas in all cases land ownership was given to the individual Ryot. And in the case of Mehalwari areas, in most cases your land ownership was given to Ryots. In some cases, Zamindar was made landowner. But in the permanent settlement areas, Zamindar was made the landowner. Bob went to North Madras and permanently settled. Bengal or Bihar, North Madras. Right. So, वहाँ क्या करें? We need to find something which is anti-British. So, therefore, there was a Chaukidari tax. So, you will not start a no-rent campaign. Why? Because it will hurt the unity of Indians. It will hurt the unity of Indians. You want to find anti-British agenda. So therefore you decide non-payment of Chaukidari tax. Chaukidari tax was the money which was collected by the Britishers in the form of tax for payment of police officials, right? Chaukidars, village chaukidars, right? So therefore, non-payment of Chaukidari tax, right? So therefore, that is why Chaukidari tax was chosen. That's why Chaukidari tax. And what is Chaukidari tax? It was collected for payment of policemen in village level, at village level or in villages, at grassroots level, right? So broadly, this is the reason why they are choosing no revenue campaign, because revenues, they are always collected by the government in the Ryotwari and Melwari areas. But in the case of Zamindari areas, they want agenda against the British. Masses, they pay rents, so therefore they pick this, right? Aisa. Here also they can choose no revenue campaign, but the problem is Zamindars, they always act pro-British. Until 1942 Quit India movement, Zamindars, they are handful in number. तो क्या ही कोई movement थोड़ी बनेगा? Limited number of Zamindars, they stop paying revenue to the government, क्या होगा? कुछ नहीं होगा. It will not be a movement. It will be a tamasha. Plus Zamindars, they are always pro-British, right? So you want to pick some agenda which is for the masses, right? So ऐसा agenda ढूंढना है जहाँ पे masses are disturbed by the Britishers. That is why this thing, right? Full stop. Also violation of forest laws. Also violation of forest laws to be done. Also violation of forest laws to be done. Also violation of forest laws to be done in central provinces. Violation of forest laws to be done in central provinces. In central provinces, right? So where जहाँ पे समुद्र नहीं है वहाँ पे क्या करें? Where the seas are there you can evaporate the sea water and you can manufacture salt and you can do civil disobedience, right? But what about the central areas which do not have access to oceans, right? So there they say fine, go ahead and violate the forest laws, right? So therefore this is the plan. In the first stage, leaders, they will build tempo. They'll start marching in the coastal areas, right? So for example, if this is like India, and these are the coastal areas and यहाँ पे पानी है, so therefore people will start doing marches in the coastal areas, right? And they will reach the oceans and seas and they will manufacture the salt by evaporating the sea water, right? But they will march very very slowly, जानबूझ के. ऐसा नहीं कि यहाँ से यहाँ जाना है तो जल्दी जल्दी जाना नहीं है ना, बस बस कर ली, ट्रेड विन कर ली, नहीं है ना, लिफ्ट ले ली. गांधी जी कह रहे हैं लिफ्ट. None. Idea is not that. Idea is even if I have to travel from here to there, first I'll go there. ऐसा घूम के जाएंगे, ठीक है? ऐसा धीरे धीरे फिर वापस, अरे कुछ भूल गया मैं, ठीक है? The whole idea is while the leaders they are marching in the coastal areas, gradually more and more people they should march with them, so that it becomes a movement, right? ऐसा, this is the plan. That's why होले march करें, कोई जल्दबाजी नहीं है पहुंचने की, but more and more people they should be allowed to join, right? That is the whole idea, ठीक है? And therefore then salt is broken, right? Mahatma Gandhi will lift the salt, right? तो उसके बाद people will cheer, गांधी जी ने salt लो तोड़ दिया, ठीक है? Now movement का बिगल बच चुका है, ठीक? So महात्मा गांधी marched from साबरमती आश्रम to डांडी कोस्ट, ठीक? So ऐसा, फिर उसके बाद सेकेंड स्टेज स्टार्ट हो जाएगा, ठीक है? तो इस प्रकार से सेकंड स्टेज कब स्टार्ट होगा उसके लिए महात्मा गांधी बताएंगे आपको. कुछ बड़ा होना चाहिए, कुछ ट्रिगर होना चाहिए. सो महात्मा गांधी वाज अरेस्टेड इन May 1930, right, on something, and then the second stage will begin. So anyways, now let us talk about implementation. This is the plan. So let us talk about the implementation. So next point, write down implementation dash first sub point. Implementation dash first sub point. Implementation dash first sub point. डांडी मार्च मैंने याद करने के लिए ऐसे बताया. डांडी मार्च इन मार्च 1930. डांडी मार्च मैंने नहीं बनाया, मतलब हुई तब थी. डांडी मार्च इन मार्च 1930. डांडी मार्च इन मार्च 1930 फ्रॉम साबरमती आश्रम. फ्रॉम साबरमती आश्रम. साबरमती आश्रम वॉज सेटअप इन 1917. सो साबरमती आश्रम के ब्रैकेट्स में आप लिखना चाहें तो आप लिख सकते हैं 1917. From Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi Coast, to Dandi Coast, Dandi is a village also, to Dandi Coast for breaking of salt law, for breaking of salt law. dash by mg, dash by mg, dash by mg, and similar marches by regional leaders, and similar marches by regional leaders, similar marches by regional leaders in other coastal areas, in other coastal areas, in other coastal areas. Example, K. Kelappan in Malabar. When was Malabar annexed by the Britishers into Madras Presidency? Third Anglo-Mysore War 1789-72, है ना. Example, K. Kelappan in Malabar. ये इसलिए आपको याद रहना चाहिए कि जो द मैप दैट वी वेरी फ्रीक्वेंटली डिस्कस वहां पे वो 1795, इट इज अ मैप ऑफ 1795, वो यहाँ पे पिंकिश जो होता है मालाबार, तो वो तब का था. एनीवेज, एंड सी राजागोपालाचारी, सी राजागोपालाचारी इन चेन्नई, चेन्नई मतलब तमिल, मतलब क्या बोलेंगे उसको, हाँ वही बोल देते हैं, ठीक. एक्चुअली तो मालाबार भी तो उसे क्या पता है, इन मद्रास ऐसे बोल रहे, ठीक ठीक है. सी राजागोपालाचारी वहां पे कर्नाटक वाली साइड पे, ये लेफ्ट हैंड साइड पे केरला वाली साइड पे दे आर डूइंग. सो सिमिलर मार्चेस दे आर बीइंग डन, राइट. Second point, also boycott began. Second point, also boycott began. Also boycott began. Third point, धरसना सत्याग्रह, धरसना, सत्याग्रह, धरसना सत्याग्रह 1930, मई 1930, गुजरात. धरसना सत्याग्रह मई 1930, गुजरात. धरसना सत्याग्रह मई 1930, गुजरात. So actually Dharsana Salt Works, it was a factory, government factory which was into manufacturing of salt, because government had salt monopoly, that only government used to manufacture salt, right. So Dharsana Salt Works is the name of factory. One day the Britishers, they receive a call, right, and the caller says that, you know, caller says मैं गांधी बोल रहा हूँ, ठीक, I am महात्मा गांधी, right. वो खुद ही खैर महात्मा तो नहीं कहते थे अपने आपको, बापू जरूर कहते, तुम्हारा बापू है ना. So he'll be saying तुम्हारा बाप बोल, बापू बोल रहा हूँ, राइट. तुम्हारा, यू नो, दैट्स लाइक महात्मा गांधी बोल रहा हूँ. क्या, हाँ बताइए बताइए. पुलिस स्टेशन में कॉल गया, ठीक, पुलिस स्टेशन कॉल, गॉट अ कॉल, महात्मा गांधी बोल रहा हूँ. अच्छा, देन फिर व्हाट, कि भी आई एम गोइंग टू डू अ रेड. तो कह रहे वेयर वेयर, कह रहा है एट धरसना सॉल्ट वर्क्स, ठीक, ये टाइम है, दिस इज द टाइम आई एम गोइंग टू कम, राइट, एंड दिस इज द थिंग. सो दे लाइक ऐसे कौन, मतलब यूजुअली कोई रेड मारता है तो मतलब ऐसे पहले बता के थोड़ी मारता है, ठीक है. बट यू सी व्हाट इज द एमजी स्टाइल, एमजी स्टाइल इज पॉलिटिक्स इज पब्लिक, क्राइम्स आर डन इन हाइडिंग, सत्याग्रही इज ट्रूथफुल, ट्रांसपेरेंट, करेजियस, ठीक. दैट्स व्हाई प्रायर वार्निंग बता दी भाई, वी आर कमिंग. अच्छा, डोंट वरी, इट विल बी अ पीसफुल रेड, राइट. सो पीसफुल रेड. सो हाउ डू यू थिंक अ पीसफुल रेड विल टेक प्लेस ऑन अ फैक्ट्री? काम नहीं करने देंगे, राइट. सो यू आर वर्किंग, ठीक है. सो पीसफुल रेड में लाइक जैसे भी नोट्स बनाया, मैं कहूँगा मत बना, मतलब काम नहीं करने देना. यू आर वर्किंग ऑन द मशीन्स, यू आर वर्किंग ऑन द मशीन्स एंड दिस विल कम, ठीक है, वो गले लग जाएंगे, ठीक है, तू तो मेरा भाई है, ठीक है, इस टाइप से. मतलब दे विल नॉट अलाउ द वर्कर्स टू वर्क पीसफुली, ठीक है. वर्कर्स दे माइट हिट देम बैक, राइट, और द फैक्ट्री मैनेजर, देयर पुलिस पीपल, दे माइट हिट देम बैक, बट दे विल अगेन राइज एंड से नहीं, मशीन के ऊपर बैठ जाएंगे, कह रहे ये सॉल्ट मेरे ऊपर से बनेगा, ठीक है. मतलब दिस सॉल्ट आई विल नॉट अलाउ द सॉल्ट टू बी मैन्युफैक्चर्ड. ऐसा पीसफुल रेड ऐसा रहेगा, उधर से लाठी पट ठीक है. बट यू सेइंग आई लव यू बिकॉज सत्याग्रह इज ऑलवेज लव्स द इविल डूअर, है ना. ऐसा ऐसा हड्डी वड्डी टूट गया, नहीं बना दूंगा सॉल्ट तेरे को, ठीक है. ऐसा दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो विल बी देयर. तो पीसफुल रेड ऐसा करने वाले महात्मा गांधी, ठीक है. महात्मा गांधी को भी चोट वोट नहीं लगी वैसे आज तक मैंने देखा है, ठीक है. ठीक है, हमारे जैसे लौंडे पिलते थे महात्मा गांधी के पीछे, ठीक है ना. महात्मा गांधी को तो ऐसे कुछ किया नहीं अंग्रेजों ने, है ना. तो ऐसे उनको लाठी वाठी ऐसा नहीं, लाला लाजपत राय को ही, इनको तो नहीं. तो anyways, तो ऐसा है. So obviously the Britishers, they arrested Mahatma Gandhi in May 1930. As soon as Mahatma Gandhi was arrested in May 1930, तो Mahatma Gandhi got this thing, the tempo thing, that now a big leader has been arrested. So now it is the time to launch the second movement. Right? Workers अलग ही हैं. Workers, they are influenced by communists also. Right? And communists, they do not believe in Gandhian methods, they believe in armed struggle. ठीक है. So therefore workers, they are like, गांधी जी को उठा लिया, गांधी जी has been arrested. है ना. वहां शोलापुर में वर्कर्स दे स्टार्टेड वायलेंट स्ट्राइक्स. ठीक. गांधी जी कह रहे हैं नॉन वायलेंट. अरे गांधी जी रुक जाओ, ठीक है, पीछे हट जाओ, ठीक है, वील डील विद इट. मार्शल लॉ हैड टू बी अप्लाइड इन शोलापुर, है ना. वर्कर्स दे वेंट ऑन वायलेंट स्ट्राइक्स. महात्मा गांधी इज लाइक नॉन वायलेंस. ठीक है. महात्मा गांधी इज फेलिंग in Rowlatt Satyagraha also. Workers, they failed Mahatma Gandhi, and now also workers are failing Mahatma Gandhi. Workers is one segment, Mahatma Gandhi very tough for Mahatma Gandhi to train them, right? This kind of scenario. तो वहाँ तो कार्ल मार्क्स ज़्यादा सक्सेसफुल हुआ उस तरीके से, because violent, right? But अभी क्या है कि गांधी जी का बेटा बेचारा, उसको दिक्कत हो गई, बहुत डंडे खाए उसने. Anyways, Sarojini Naidu and Manilal was son of Mahatma Gandhi. They led the धरसना सत्याग्रह, धरसना सॉल्ट वर्क्स. ठीक. बहुत पिलाए हुए, बहुत ज्यादा, ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ रिप्रेशन. सत्याग्रहीज दे पटापट दे भटाबट. ठीक है. डंडे पे डंडा, सत्याग्रही लाल कर दी उन्होंने, खून निकाल के. ठीक है ना. ऐसा ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ रिप्रेशन होते हैं. ठीक है. यहाँ डंडा, ठीक है, यहाँ नील पड़ा हुआ है, वहां नील पड़ा हुआ है, ये हड्डी टूट गई, वो हड्डी टूट गई. मनीलाल को भी लगे. ठीक है. 3-4. गांधी जी ने अपने बच्चों के लिए कभी कुछ नहीं किया. ठीक है. मतलब मुझे लगता है वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट ग्रीवेंस अगेंस्ट महात्मा गांधी विल बी ऑफ देयर चिल्ड्रन. तो उससे ज्यादा प्यार तो उन्होंने नेहरू जी से किया. बच्चे कह रहे हैं हमारा पॉलिटिकल करियर कुछ नहीं, कह रहे मनीलाल कह रहे मैं तो डंडे भी खाए थे, कह रहे साइड हो जा, नो डायनेस्टिक पॉलिटिक्स चार्ज ऑन मी. दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो. तो महात्मा गांधी के बच्चों का ज्यादा कुछ नाम माता नहीं है. ठीक है. 1-2 राइटर वगैरह बन गए. ठीक है. बाकी 1-2 ने एंटी महात्मा गांधी कमेंट दिए कि हमारे मामले कुछ नहीं किया, बट ज्यादा वो न्यूज में आता नहीं है. हाँ ऐसा कुछ लोगों का गुस्सा था महात्मा गांधी से, बच्चों का, पापा ने हमारे लिए कुछ नहीं किया. ठीक है. इस टाइप का सिचुएशन. हाँ इंटरनेट पे है ऐसा, सब लोग खुश नहीं थे. ठीक है. तो बट ऐसा, ठीक है, तो कुछ नहीं. सत्याग्रहीज दे आर रिप्रेस्ड, बट नाउ सेकंड फेज हैज स्टार्टेड. ठीक है ना. तो सेकंड फेज में योर नो रेवेन्यू कैंपेन विल स्टार्ट, नो चौकीदारी टैक्स कैंपेन विल स्टार्ट, वायलेशन ऑफ फॉरेस्ट लॉज विल स्टार्ट. तो ये सब काम स्टार्ट हो जाएगा. ठीक है. तो लिखिए धरसना सत्याग्रह May 1930, गुजरात डैश. MG gave prior warning. MG gave prior warning to British. MG gave prior warning to British. MG gave prior warning to British about peaceful raid. About a peaceful raid. About a peaceful raid at Dharsana Salt Works. About a peaceful raid at Dharsana Salt Works. Full stop. This led to MG arrest. This led to MG arrest. Policemen are British or Indian? Junior policemen will all be Indians. SP level and above will be British. Right. Anyways, क्या था? अच्छा, SP level and above all will not be British. Why? Because if you remember, exam in India for UPSC was held since 1922. है ना? Decision was taken in 1919. So gradually, Indianization of civil services is taking place. Plus, whenever any Indian national movement is there, right? So there is a constant pressure on the Britishers by the Indian politicians for Indianization of civil services, right? So gradually, the composition is changing. है ना? वैसा. So anyways, MG gave prior warning to British about a peaceful raid at Dharsana Salt Works. Full stop. Led to arrest of MG or MG arrest, and now raid was led by. MG's son, and now raid was led by MG's son, Manilal, 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 and Sarojini Naidu, Manilal and Sarojini Naidu, Manilal and Sarojini Naidu, Manilal and Sarojini Naidu. First off, followed by huge repression by British. This was followed by huge repression by British. Huge repression by British. Huge repression by British. You can use such things if any bouncer question comes by the UPSC, for example, about the political style of Mahatma Gandhi. So usually people will be talking about non-violent. At max, they will define who is a satyagrahi, etc., etc. Struggle, true struggle, because that is mentioned in your spectrum. That Mahatma Gandhi पहले struggle करते हैं, फिर break आता है, फिर struggle करते हैं, right? But you can add something more. For example, building a tempo, जैसा मैंने आपको बताया. यहाँ पे हमें क्या पता चल रहा है? So therefore, look at the MG style. And what is the MG style? Fearlessness of Satyagrahi. He is making a call. He is telling in advance that we are going to do a peaceful raid. So here his fearlessness. So see, fearlessness of Satyagrahi. Fearlessness of Satyagrahi when he is giving advance warning. Plus another thing, politics, it is not done in hiding. Politics is done in public, or politics is public. Crimes, usually crimes, not talking about revolutionaries, वो different हो जाता है, but crimes are secret. Crimes are secret. So therefore this element is there with respect to what you call as Mahatma Gandhi giving advance warning. Mahatma Gandhi giving advance warning, right? So this is the MG style which is there, right? तो ऐसा है, ये बात हमने पहले भी करी कहीं पे. हाँ, अगर इसमें अगर आप देखेंगे, so this was one of the positives of tribal revolts, peasant and tribal revolts. We had mentioned example Santhals, they had given prior warning to the Britishers that we are going to launch a movement, tum sudhar jao, right? But when the Britishers, they did not change their methods, then finally in 1855 Santhal rebellion took place. So हमने एक positive लिखा था about the peasant revolts and tribal uprisings, that their movements were public and therefore were political in nature. Crimes are done in hiding. They were not criminals. They were leading huge marches. They were giving advance warnings also to the Britishers in many cases. So therefore, ऐसा हमने कहा था. So this is like a positive of politics, है ना? Publicness होती है हमेशा politics में एक, right? So ये है. ठीक. Next point. इसको लिख लीजिए. So by adding these elements of small analysis, you make Dharsana Satyagraha, which is simply like factual, also something intelligent. That okay, here we are able to see MG style in operation, right? So that is the importance. This is what Mahatma Gandhi stands for, right? Next point, in Assam dash, protests against Cunningham Circular. Protests against Cunningham Circular. Protests against Cunningham Circular. Right? For example, you are like college going students, right? And you are going to participate in civil disobedience movement. So what do the Britishers do? They bring out a circular whereby they are seeking what you call as assurance of good behavior of you guys from your parents. Right? And just in case if you are found to be present in any protest, then action can be taken against the parents also. This kind of scenario. So therefore now when the circular was initiated, you guys started protesting in which way? Right? Against the Cunningham Circular. So वहाँ पे एक छोटा सा ये था. Protests against Cunningham Circular in brackets 1930-31. In brackets 1930-31. Brackets closed. That forced parents to give assurance, of good behavior of their children, assurance of good behavior of their children. So stop. Next point. After arrest of MG, in May 1930, comma, second stage began. Second stage began. Rest of the other points we are going to cover in the impact part. है ना? जैसे शोलापुर वाला चीज है, तो we'll put a negative एंड नेगेटिव में हम लिखेंगे देयर वाज वायलेंस, and then we'll write down example after arrest of MG in May 1930 huge violence took place in Sholapur by the workers and martial law had to be implemented, right? So इस तरीके से हमने एक इवेंट को अपने एनालिसिस का पार्ट बना लिया, राइट भाई साहब. सो राइट डाउन इम्पैक्ट इज इक्वल टू फर्स्ट सब पॉइंट पॉजिटिव्स लिखते हैं. पॉजिटिव्स अब देखिए महात्मा गांधी हमारे बापू तो हैं ही, है ना. महात्मा गांधी फादर ऑफ नेशन, महात्मा गांधी महात्मा, है ना. तो अब देखिए जो नेगेटिव है वो भी पॉजिटिव है. बाप कभी गलत नहीं होता, सिंपल, ठीक है ना. तो इफ वायलेंस इज टेकिंग प्लेस देन इट इज फेलियर ऑफ द लीडर दैट वायलेंस इज टेकिंग प्लेस. बट आप देखिए क्या कहेंगे, आप इसको भी तारीफ बना देंगे. ये तो डिप्लोमेटिक स्किल है. दिस इज द स्किल विच इज रिक्वायर्ड बाय द ब्यूरोक्रेट, राइट. सो राइट डाउन फर्स्ट पॉइंट, इनिशियल वायलेंस did not influence MG. Initial violence did not influence MG into withdrawing the movement. Did not influence MG into withdrawing the movement. Therefore, MG showed, did not influence MG into withdrawing the movement. Therefore, MG showed more radicalism. Therefore, MG showed more radicalism. ऐसा, more radicalism. आप ऐसे नहीं लिखोगे that movement was planned to be non-violent, but violence took place from the side of Indians. Therefore, it is a negative. ना. Second point. अच्छा अभी देखिए, in non-cooperation you don't have to go to jail because you are not breaking any law. But civil disobedience you break a law, so therefore you might have to take lathis from the police, plus you might have to go to jail, right? So therefore, if civil disobedience is taking place at all India level and not just non-cooperation, so it is a very big positive. That means Indians or the masses, they are now fearless and they are ready to go to jail. If masses they do non-cooperation but they don't do civil disobedience, that means they are not masses, they are not so nationally charged that they are willing to take lathis from the British, that they are willing to go to jail. But if masses do civil disobedience at a mass level, that means nationalism इतना ऊपर पहुंच चुका है that the masses they are like जेल भेजेंगे दिख जाएगा, right? तो अब की बार ये हुआ. So write down second point. CD happened. CD माने civil disobedience. CD happened at all India level. CD happened at all India level and not just NC. CD happened at all India level and not just NC, non-cooperation. And this was important progress. And this was important progress in INM. And this was important progress in INM. And this was important progress in INM. As masses were ready for British repression, as masses were ready for British repression, as masses were ready for British repression and imprisonment. British repression and imprisonment. Right? Next point. Acha. In the movements, some things they are firsts which are important. Some things are firsts which are important. For example, what is the first here? For example, workers के बारे में बोला जाए. So workers participated for the first time in which movement? Swadeshi movement. Because white collar workers, they went on strike in the foreign owned enterprises. So if my employer was foreigner, then C.R. Das, Liaquat Hussain, Bipin Chandrapal, they are leading strikes by the workers. है ना. सो वर्कर्स फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम अगर उन्होंने पार्टिसिपेट किया, सो इट वाज लाइक दी स्वदेशी मूवमेंट, राइट, उस प्रकार से. एंड फिर आ जाते फर्स्ट टाइम प्रॉपर पार्टिसिपेशन. फर्स्ट टाइम प्रॉपर पार्टिसिपेशन, तो जैसे हम देखें कि फर्स्ट टाइम प्रॉपर पार्टिसिपेशन तो टेक्स प्लेस ड्यूरिंग दी होम रूल लीग मूवमेंट. वहां पे वर्कर्स दे वर वेरी एंथुसियास्टिकली लिसनिंग टू द एजुकेटिव प्रोपेगेंडा बाय बाल गंगाधर तिलक, एनी बेसेंट एटसेट्रा, राइट. Women they did participate in the non-cooperation movement. Women they did participate in the non-cooperation movement, but participation was not so significant. limited participation was there. So always remember, it is Mahatma Gandhi who brought women into the national mainstream politics, right? ऐसा, ठीक है? So मतलब he played an important role, right? How did he play an important role? For example, he was Mahatma, right? So as I told you earlier also, maybe I told you that, you know, when religion is there, so religion is also a source of freedom in a patriarchal society. Religion is also a source of freedom for women. I told you this example earlier, right? So it's simple. For example, if your mother tells you, right? If my mother tells me that my father, that I'm going to we sisters are going to go on a trip to Goa, right? My father will be like, yeah, है ना ऐसा, trip to Goa, ऐसा, तो चलो trip to Goa, okay. But then another will be like, you know, something like just 1 month back also you went. Again you want to go to somewhere else? What is this? You know, restrictions will be there. But replace Goa with Guruji ka satsang. Replace Goa with Path, Guruji ka satsang. Right? Then more confidence in the voice of mother, that I am going to a satsang. Right? Okay? I am going to a satsang. Like, she is not asking, she is telling now. Okay? I am going to a satsang. Right? And if father objects, then mother will be like, while I am taking the name of the God, you are acting as a, you know, speed breaker. ठीक है, यू आर एक्टिंग एज अ बैरियर. अगर भगवान का नाम भी नहीं ले लोगे, जिंदगी तो तबाह कर दी मेरी. दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो, बुढ़ापे में राम का नाम भी नहीं लेना, है ना. दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो विल बी देयर, है ना. सो पापा इज आल्सो ऑन द बैक फुट, लाइक अच्छा जाओ, ठीक. तो आप कभी भी नोटिस करना, बीट एनी रिलीजन एंड व्हेनेवर एनी रिलीजियस गैदरिंग इज देयर, ह्यूज नंबर ऑफ वुमेन आते हैं. वो रिलीजियस टूरिज्म है. माय मदर फॉर एग्जांपल, शी हैज कवर्ड ऑल द धाम्स, ठीक है, ऐसा ऐसा ऐसा. अब तो मैं परेशान हो गया हूं. I have started doubting. मैंने कहा this is religious trip or tourist trip? ठीक है, ऐसा कहता, अभी यहाँ जा रहे हैं, अभी वहाँ जा रहे हैं. मैं कहा आप कभी हर महीने जाते हो यार, हर दूसरे महीने, मतलब कभी तो रुक जाओ, कहाँ जा रहे हो, where are you going? Right? But see, it is like a ticket. दोनों चीजें हैं, रिलीजन ही है एंड घूमना भी है. राइट? वो जो सत्संग है वो उनका डिस्को है एक्चुअली, एक लेवल पे. मतलब स्पिरिचुअल डिस्को है वो, स्पिरिचुअल डिस्को है वो एक लेवल पे, ठीक ना. ऐसा ऐसा डांस कर रहे हैं, राइट, ऐसा मतलब उनका मस्ती का वो उनकी एज में वो तरीका है भाई, ठीक है ना. आनंद भी आता है उसमें, स्पिरिचुअली वी आर फीलिंग क्लोज टू गॉड, एंड डांसिंग इज आल्सो फॉर्म ऑफ मेडिटेशन आल्सो, एनीवेज, राइट. सो दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो इट इज देयर. सो महात्मा गांधी, बिकॉज हिज फोकस वाज वेरी वेरी हाई ऑन रिलीजन, so therefore it resulted in decrease in the barriers of the brothers, of the fathers, of the husbands, right, of the sons, and they allowed their women, household women, to join the Mahatma Gandhi struggle, right. So this was happening since 1920. This is happening since 1920. So therefore focus on religiosity and invoking of women, focus on women empowerment in constructive work, for example, right. Focus on icons like Sita, Draupadi, right. So because of this, Mahatma Gandhi, in a very subtle manner, without disturbing the patriarchal males too much, for example, Mahatma Gandhi will also say that equality between women and men, it is good, but there are something called gender roles, right. So place of the women is in house, right. ऐसा महात्मा गांधी कहेंगे, right. But why? Because so that the Indian men, they are like, हाँ गांधी ठीक, हाँ ठीक बात कर रहे हैं, ठीक 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 है. And now when this very same person say कि बाकी तो सब ठीक है, but women empowerment is also necessary, and fine, women, they are also the roop of Sita, Draupadi, and they should also voice their grievances. They can also participate. They can also do some kind of boycott, right. For example, household goods, you stop buying the British goods, right. You start buying the Indian goods, etc. Right. You can also join me in the protest also. We are going on Dandi March. So Indian men is also like, ठीक है, चल जाओ महात्मा जी का, ठीक है. क्योंकि महात्मा गांधी एट द सेम टाइम इज टॉकिंग सम पेट्रियार्कल आल्सो, राइट. सो महात्मा गांधी इज वेरी चालू पर्सन, ठीक. इफ ही स्टॉप्स टॉकिंग, इफ ही डज नॉट टॉक एनीथिंग पेट्रियार्कल, देन द मेन, दे विल बिकम एंटी गांधी. महात्मा गांधी इज नॉट दैट पर्सन. ही डज नॉट मेक एनीवन एंटी गांधी. वो ही operates in such a manner that all the people, they can associate with him, right. So patriarchal men, they should also be able to associate with him. So at times he will make some patriarchal statements also, right. But patriarchal statement बोल दिया, तू मेरी साइड आ गई, you're the Indian man, and then I'll say women please also join in the movement, right. So अभी Indian man escalation of commitment, मतलब समझ रहे हो. तो ऐसा मिक्स करके, ऐसा वेगनेस से महात्मा गांधी, but he was working for women empowerment, be it through constructive work, be it focus on religion. So that is why huge massive participation of women took place for the first time in the civil disobedience movement, and everyone was surprised, people were shocked that in multiple places, on multiple occasions, be it rural areas or urban areas, गैदरिंग्स ऑफ हंड्रेड्स ऑफ women. ये नजारा कभी नहीं देखा गया था. That hundreds of women, they are gathered at one place, right, raising slogans. This was happening for the first time, and this happened during the civil disobedience movement, right? So this is one of the very big positives, right? बाद में although the women leaders, they will have a complaint against Indian National Congress and Mahatma Gandhi, right? For example, Sarla Devi Chaudhrani, she will say that INC wants women to be lawbreakers, but not lawmakers. Lawmakers माने MLAs, lawmakers माने MPs, lawmakers माने even within the INC, are you are simply a member or you are secretary, general secretary, treasurer, something like this, power positions. So you are using the women labor to strengthen your movement, but you are not giving them power. And even till day, the reservation for women in the parliament, etc., these kind of issues, they are long pending. They are long pending, right? ऐसा है. So anyways, right now, first time massive participation. First time massive participation. First time massive participation. First time massive participation of capitalist class. First time massive participation of capitalist class. अरे कैपिटलिस्ट वाला आ गया, कोई नहीं, ठीक है, विमेन वाला भी कर देंगे. पहले कैपिटलिस्ट वाला कर देते हैं. हाँ, एक्चुअली फर्स्ट वाला था तो एक ही वाला पॉइंट बताना भूल गया था. फर्स्ट टाइम विमेन आर पार्टिसिपेटिंग, एंड सेकंड फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम मासिव पार्टिसिपेशन ऑफ द कैपिटलिस्ट क्लास. इससे पहले हमने कभी नहीं देखा, वी हैव नेवर सीन दैट द कैपिटलिस्ट क्लास, दैट इज द ट्रेडर्स, द मैन्युफैक्चरर्स, दे हैव पार्टिसिपेटेड. Right, so two firsts are taking place: massive women participation and also massive capitalist class participation. Right, actually the intent of the capitalists was now that they realized that Great Depression is severe, and they thought that it is also a good opportunity to pressurize the Britishers to extract some positives for the Indian businesses in the form of tariffs. जैसे महात्मा गांधी 11 point demands देखा ना उसमें, better tariffs for Indian businessmen, right, promotion of Indian ships, right, ऐसा. So therefore they thought that capitalists का हमेशा ये रहता, let us create enough pressure through a movement on the Britishers to extract some positives, and once those positives are extracted, then we are going to our home. Okay, tata, bye bye, thank you Mahatma Gandhi, right? This kind of scenario, right? So anyways, this time they participated, right? Especially, right on, especially first time massive participation of capitalist class, especially traders, especially traders, especially traders, especially traders who stopped importing British cloth, especially traders who stopped importing British cloth, especially traders who stopped importing British cloth, stopped importing British cloth. Full stop. There was decline of 50%. There was decline of 50% in import of foreign cloth, in import of foreign cloth, in import of foreign cloth. In bright star लगा के, like in NCM, like in NCM 1922, like in NCM 1920-22, plus आयरनी है, जिस मूवमेंट का नाम था स्वदेशी, उसमें there was no impact, there was no negative impact on imports. So this is like reconnecting with the past results with respect to boycott of foreign cloth. It has always been a mudda. So just for the sake of revision, the result of the Swadeshi movement was that boycott of cloth, it was a failure. Boycott of foreign cloth, it was a failure because Swadeshi cloth was expensive. Also people were poor, right? So basically boycott was a failure with respect to the foreign cloth. But in the case of non-cooperation movement, in the positive we had written that boycott was great success. Example, 50% decline in import of British cloth, right, or British goods, British cloth, right? Here also there is 50% decline. So this is how we have reconnected, right? Also bright में star लगा के you can write down attitude of capitalists is equal to Someone who is anti-Mahatma Gandhi can accuse Mahatma Gandhi that Mahatma Gandhi, your method of struggle, true struggle, you are pro-capitalist. Why? Because what is the attitude of capitalists? They want to put that much pressure on the Britishers. So under pressure, the Britishers, they give some positives to the Indian businessman in form of lesser taxes, in form of better tariffs, etc., etc. And once this thing has been done, then they do not want lawlessness, they do not want protests. Then they want to go back to their factories to enjoy those positives which has just been extracted. That is now the desired truce between the INM leaders and the Britishers. है ना? I am a businessman, Mahatma Gandhi, I am supporting your movement. हाँ, workers, go on strike. हाँ, do dharna, do protest, right? सड़क पे हल्ला बोल होने दो. Let हल्ला बोल take place on the roads. Britishers are under pressure. Britishers, they give in to certain demands, right? Then like capitalist wants, हाँ वापस आ जाओ. अभी next morning I have to open my shop. Next morning I have to open my factory and I have to do business. So I'm able to enjoy the positives of the decisions which have been taken. So महात्मा गांधी अभी ट्रूस करते हैं. एंड महात्मा गांधी का स्टाइल क्या है? स्ट्रगल, ट्रूस, स्ट्रगल, फिर ट्रूस, फिर स्ट्रगल, स्ट्रगल, ट्रूस, स्ट्रगल, ट्रूस, स्ट्रगल, ऐसा है, राइट? नॉन कॉपरेशन मूवमेंट, फिर ट्रूस आ गया. 5 साल तक ट्रूस रहा. 1922 से 1927 ट्रूस. इनफैक्ट 1930 तक ट्रूस इन अ वे, राइट? दैट इज फॉर 8 years ट्रूस. देन 4 years ऑफ सिविल डिसोबीडियंस मूवमेंट. Then again 1934 to 1942 truce. ऐसा स्ट्रगल, ट्रू स्ट्रगल, ऐसा ही रहा. तो एनीवेज, attitude of capitalists is support a movement, extract positives from the British government of India, then desire truce. This is what is written in the your बिपिन चंद्रा. ठीक है, नॉट अगेंस्ट एमजी, महात्मा गांधी के खिलाफ नहीं, बट ब्रिटिशर्स के बारे में लिखा हुआ है. एक दूसरे पन्ने में लिखा हुआ है स्ट्रगल टू स्ट्रगल. हमने दोनों को कंबाइन कर दिया, दिमाग में खुराफात मच गई, राइट? सो ऐसा, ठीक है, ठीक है. तो दिस इज द एटीट्यूड ऑफ द कैपिटलिस्ट. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, इसी में फुल स्टॉप, राइट? नाउ ही इज एंटी कैपिटलिस्ट, ही इज एंटी कैपिटलिस्ट, right? So he says ki sir, because of Great Depression demand is down. When demand is down, then obviously there is less demand for the British imported goods also. And sir, it is because of Great Depression, because of which the British imports are coming down. They are not the ones who are responsible, right? But the mainstream books, they do clarify this point that yes, Great Depression did play a role, but the importers, Indian importers, they also played a very significant role. So the contribution to decline in British imports, that is import of British goods in India, was not just because of the Great Depression, but your capitalists, they actually played a positive role, right? So write down full stop. GD 1929 contributed, GD 1929 contributed, GD 1929 contributed, GD 1929 contributed to decrease in imports, to decrease in imports, but important role still played, but important role still played in boycott, important role still played in boycott by traders, by Indian traders, important role still played in boycott by Indian traders. Next point, first time large scale. Next point, first time large scale. First time large scale women participation. First time large scale women participation. In both rural and urban areas. In both rural and urban areas. And people were shocked. And people were shocked to see huge gatherings, and people were shocked to see huge gatherings, and people were shocked to see huge gatherings of women. People were shocked to see huge gatherings of women. Huge gatherings of women. Full stop. Therefore, MG's morality. Therefore, MG's morality. Therefore, MG's morality and focus on spirituality. MG's morality and focus on spirituality decreased. MG's morality and focus on spirituality decreased. Inhibition, decreased inhibition of Indian men, decreased inhibition of Indian men. Plus MG's focus on women empowerment. Example in CW. MG's focus on women empowerment. Example in CW. Brought women into. Example in CW. Brought women into. Mainstream politics. Brought women into mainstream politics. Next point, independent point. Rural and urban masses. Both participated. Rural and urban masses both participated. Now write down negatives. So whenever you have to structure the negatives, ठीक है, तो basically क्या है, गोल होता है, मेथड्स होते हैं, पार्टिसिपेशन होता है. Basically, broadly on these bases, we try to determine that whether what are the successes and what are the positives. What are the positives, what are the negatives. अभी अगर आप positives को भी देख लो, ठीक है, तो हमने positives में क्या चीजें लिखी, हमने लिखा method का positive. That civil disobedience happened at all India level. Therefore, masses they were more radical. Right? हमने एक और मेथड का लेवल लिखा, that initial violence did not influence Mahatma Gandhi into withdrawing the movement. फिर we talked about participation. First time large scale women participation, first time large scale middle class participation. Plus we also mentioned that your rural and urban areas both participated. Right? So therefore you see, इन्हीं के बारे में बात करी हमने. So negatives and positives of any movement कभी भी हो. So try to structure around that. What was the goal? Did we achieve the goal? Second, what was the method? Did we follow the method? Third point, participation. That is, which all sections they became part of the Indian national movement and which sections they still did not become part of the movement. Right? तो इन्हीं के स्ट्रक्चर, इनफैक्ट हम ऐसे ही लिखवाते हैं आपको. यू कैन ऑलवेज कैटेगराइज, चाहे आपका स्वदेशी मूवमेंट हो चाहे कोई भी हो, यू कैन कैटेगराइज इन देम इनटू दिस. राइट? पॉजिटिव्स. सो हम नेगेटिव्स देखते हैं. सो नेगेटिव्स में फर्स्ट फॉर एग्जांपल वायलेंस. राइट? सो वायलेंस वाज देयर बाय द वर्कर्स आफ्टर May 1930. Second point is, right, violence वाला हो गया. Second point is regarding participation. Right? So with respect to participation, जैसे workers, if we talk about workers, so therefore CPI had given a call to boycott the civil disobedience movement. Why? Because CPI had received a direction from Russia. Russia was the headquarter, plus the chairperson of this organization called Comintern. COMINTER. It was like the international body of all communist parties of the world. Right? So they used to take directions from there. Right? And they had said that anyone who is not with us is against us. That is, anyone who is not communist, oppose him. Right? So therefore they were opposing the civil disobedience movement. So naturally the workers' participation will not be as high as it could have been, because CPI कह रहा है do not participate. Right? So that will hurt the participation of workers. But CPI does not have monopoly over workers. Indian National Congress, in fact, extremists also, like Bal Gangadhar Tilak, like Lala Lajpat Rai, these people, they had worked on working class related issues since 1900. एक हमने छोटा सा point लिखा था, Tilak trial in 1908 on sedition charges for his article Arrival of Bomb. And there we wrote down one line, ठीक है, that huge demonstration by workers took place in 1908 in favor of Tilak. You see, so Tilak is an extremist. So these people, they are working on the workers to involve them, to have their support since that period, since that time period. Right? So Indian National Congress also has support of workers. So we will not be able to say that zero participation, but we will say jitna participation ho sakta tha, that kind of participation was not there, that could have been. because CPI is acting like a negative. Also, Mahatma Gandhi did not want workers to participate. Why? Uncontrolled, right? Because they are under the influence of the communists, and communists, they do not believe in non-violence. So Mahatma Gandhi had this fear that if more workers participate in our civil disobedience movement, then chances of the movement becoming violent will be very, very high. And once any movement becomes violent, Britishers, they always have a alibi, they always have a bahana to repress it in the name of law and order maintenance. Right? So Mahatma Gandhi भी ज़्यादा नहीं चाहते थे कि workers participate करें. He also did not want that workers they participate too much. Right? So because of this, workers' participation was low. Right? So please write down. No major worker participation. No major worker participation. No major worker participation, except in Sholapur and Nagpur. No major workers' participation, except in Sholapur and Nagpur. Therefore, CPI boycotting CDM had an impact. Therefore, CPI boycotting CDM had an impact. Had an impact. Full stop. MG also was not was not much in favor of involving workers. Was not much in favor of involving workers. Due to fear of movement turning violent. Due to fear of movement turning violent. Due to fear of movement turning violent. As workers were under communist influence. Due to fear of movement turning violent. MG was also not much in favor of involving workers due to fear of movement turning violent. As workers were under communist influence. As workers were under communist influence. Workers were under communist influence. Right. Next point with respect to participation, if we see, we know that the Muslim League stated that civil disobedience movement is a trick of INC to establish Hindu Raj. They want to capture the government and they want to establish Hindu rule. Right. So therefore, many of the Muslims, they will not participate. At least those who are followers of the Muslim League, they will not participate. Right. Plus, because INC-ML unity is not there, so chances of violence on the ground will also be high between Hindus and Muslims. Party cadre, they will act against each other, this kind of scenario. So the Hindu-Muslim unity, which was largely present during the non-cooperation movement, that Hindu-Muslim unity, it is not present in this case. Right. So write down lack of H-M unity. Lack of H-M unity, Hindu-Muslim unity, due to lack of Hindu-Muslim unity, due to lack of INC-ML unity, due to lack of LACK, lack of Hindu-Muslim unity, H-M unity, due to lack of INC-Muslim League, INC-ML unity. And this contributed to low Muslim participation. And this contributed to low Muslim participation. This contributed to low Muslim participation. है ना? We should always reconnect. अगर आप देखेंगे, so in the case of Swadeshi, was there unity between Muslim League 1906 and the INC in the Swadeshi movement? There was no unity. They wanted East Bengal and Assam, so therefore there was no unity. Right? At the rate of your, for example, at the rate of your this thing, HRL movement 1916-18, was there unity between Hindus and Muslims or not? Yes. Why? Because Lucknow Pact, LP 1916 has already taken place. Right? Plus, ऐसा. From non-cooperation movement and Khilafat movement, that is 1920-22. There was Hindu-Muslim unity? Yes, because of the same reasons. Right? But in the case of civil disobedience movement, you see, 1930-34, there is no unity. There is no unity. Why there is no unity? Yes, no unity, very good. No unity because 4 Delhi proposals which were given before, that is which were given in December 1927, plus your 3 Calcutta amendments. किसको? To Nehru report. They were given in 1928 December. They were rejected. They were rejected. And therefore unity was not there between INC, which is one of the major party of the APC, and the Muslim League, है ना? So that is why the unity, it is not there. And if unity is not there, so participation of the Muslims will be less. Those who are supporting Muslim League, their participation will be less, है ना? तो ऐसा background में स्टार लगा के if we'll keep on revising, so this is how, this is like a trick to remember, right? Whenever we will making any linkages, है ना? पूछिए what is the doubt? हाँ जी पूछिए. Calcutta amendments, Calcutta amendments, है ना? 3 Calcutta amendments, 1928 December. 3 Calcutta amendments, 1928 December. Nehru report came in August 1928. So जो 4 Delhi proposals हैं, they are before the committee starts deliberating upon the report. 3 Calcutta amendments, once the report comes, after that it happens, right? So 4 Delhi proposals क्या थे? Actually में तो 3 ही proposals थे. Actually there were 3 proposals. That is A, 1/3 reservation at the center. Second, more Muslim majority provinces in the form of Sindh, Baluchistan and WFP, right? And third component was, reservation in MMPs. MMPs क्या था? Muslim majority provinces of Punjab and Bengal, right? These three were the demands, right? They were partially accepted, partially rejected. In the 3 Calcutta amendments, what were the 3 amendments? 1/3 reservation at center. Second, reservation in Muslim majority provinces till the point of time you bring universal adult franchise, right? And third was residual powers to the PLCs, right? So these were the 3 Calcutta amendments. They were rejected and then they gave 14-point demands, है ना? तो अभी यूनिटी नहीं है, अभी यूनिटी नहीं है. इम्पैक्ट आप देख रहे हैं that in 1929 the constructive work resolution, it also does not clearly mention focusing on Hindu-Muslim unity, because expectation is that if INC cadre will go to the Muslim neighborhoods, right, then Muslim League cadres, they might create some trouble, right? So maybe that is the reason, but we see absence is there of focus on Hindu-Muslim unity in the constructive work program of 1929, है ना? तो ऐसा 1928, 29 नहीं, 1928 में CW प्लान लाए थे, because महात्मा गांधी wanted the movement on his basis, right? Next point, write down. अब देखिए middle class, it has multiple components, write down. Next point, and bracket में स्टार लगा लिखिए. Middle class, it has multiple components. For example, they can be businesses, they can also be your professionals, and they can also be youth who are yet to be employed, है ना? Middle class can be divided into 3 parts. Those who are businessmen, those who are professionals, for example lawyers, teachers, right? Youth, right? Problem is these people are supporting, but these people, youth, they are very very angry at Mahatma Gandhi that you are not doing enough for Bhagat Singh, plus they are inspired by Bhagat Singh, right? So therefore ऐसा, ठीक है? So they, under the influence of revolutionaries, they are not interested in this boring non-violent movement of Mahatma Gandhi, you know, from the perspective of the youth, right? So low participation of the youth will be there. So write down, middle class youth was not attracted, middle class youth was not attracted to non-violent methods. Middle class youth was not attracted to non-violent methods, as were inspired by, middle class youth were not attracted to non-violent methods, as were inspired by revolutionaries like Bhagat Singh, as were inspired by revolutionaries like Bhagat Singh, as were inspired by revolutionaries like Bhagat Singh, revolutionaries like Bhagat Singh. ठीक, तो ऐसा है विद रिस्पेक्ट टू पार्टिसिपेशन, राइट? अब आ जाते हैं रिजल्ट पे एक तरीके से. सो नेक्स्ट पॉइंट लिखिए. अब हुआ क्या ओवरऑल, देखिए ये हुआ था दैट ओवरऑल नेक्स्ट पॉइंट में ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के राइट डाउन. सो 1930 to 31 there was CDM, right? After this there was Gandhi Irwin Pact, 1931. After this second RTC, 1931. INC participated here. This failed, and after that 1932-34 again CDM. Some positives were there in the case of first phase. Second phase was total failure. Second phase was total failure, right? क्या उसके कारण तो हम देखेंगे, बट एक ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के यहाँ पे एक क्रोनोलॉजी लिख लीजिए. So with this thing in the background, when you talk about the next points that we are going to write, it will make more sense. So gradually we are moving towards Mahatma Gandhi Irwin Pact. Gradually we are going to move towards Mahatma Gandhi Irwin Pact, right? So in a way we are also talking about reasons for Gandhi Irwin Pact. ऐसा भी हम बोल सकते हैं, right? तो basically हुआ क्या? अब masses they get tired. What is the reason for struggle, true struggle for Mahatma Gandhi? Masses, they are not 100% politicians, they are not full-time politicians, and they get tired, right? They also have homes to run, they also have to put food on the table, right? Small peasants are there, Garib Kisan hai, small workers are there, they are the masses, right? Now 1930, 1931, right? People have started no revenue campaign. When you do not pay revenue, government comes and seizes your property. Maybe it can auction it, right? Aisa, or at least can seize it. Right. So peasants, for example, they have suffered from this kind of repression by the Britishers, that when they did not pay the land revenue in Ryotwari and Mehalwari areas, the government came and seized their property, seized their lands. Right. Plus masses are put into jail also. Right. Arrests are taking place because civil disobedience is taking place. Workers, they don't have any big saving account. Right. They have participated in the strikes, etc. But they are also wages, etc. नहीं है उनके पास भी. Right? ऐसा. Your middle class, it is also thinking यार और कितना नुकसान होगा, how much more loss we have to take. The businessmen, they are also thinking that how much more loss we have to take, right? पूरा 1 year has passed, business is down, right? So therefore gradually the tempo was coming down. Gradually the enthu of the masses was coming down because the Britishers, they were not responding by giving us Purn Swaraj, है ना? So therefore Mahatma Gandhi realizes, and Mahatma Gandhi therefore decided that now the time for truce has come, right? And therefore let us enter into some kind of truce with the Britishers, right? So that's and that is called Gandhi Irwin Pact of 1931. As a result of this, civil disobedience movement was suspended and INC agreed to participate in second roundtable conference in London, right? So write down next point. इसी में continuation, ये तो just एक background है, continuation right now. रिजल्ट नहीं है, मतलब चल रहा है, ठीक है, इवेंट ही आप कह लो इसका. रिजल्ट लिख लो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं, रिजल्ट लिखो, बट ये रिजल्ट ऑफ फर्स्ट फेज होगा, है ना? रिजल्ट लिखो. गवर्नमेंट रिप्रेशन led to decline. Government repression led to decline of movement. After September 1930, plus financial losses, decreased, capitalist participation, plus confiscation of property, that is seizing of property, seizure and confiscation of property decreased, peasant participation, plus GD 1929 had led to decline in prices. GD 1929 had led to decline in prices had led to decline in prices. And now tenants 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 began no rent campaign. Oh, ऐसा तो प्लानिंग नहीं था. This was not the plan, right? Began no rent campaign on their own, and now tenants began no rent campaign on their own. That could have hurt unity among Indians. And this made MG cautious. That could have hurt unity among Indians, and this made MG cautious. Because no rent campaign will be by an Indian tenant against Indian zamindar. This made MG consciously cautious. Full stop. Therefore, CDM was suspended. With Gandhi-Irwin Pact, Gandhi-Irwin 2631 Pact, 1931. Gandhi-Irwin 2631 Pact, 1931. So Irwin was there from 1926 to 1931. Gandhi-Irwin Pact, 1931. And main reason for suspension was rising violence. Example, in brackets, can also mention in negatives. मतलब ब्रैकेट में लिखिए can also add to negatives, है ना. इन चीजों को हम नेगेटिव्स में भी ऐड कर सकते हैं. ठीक है, हम एक स्टोरी फॉर्म में बता रहे हैं, बट दीज थिंग्स दे कैन बी मेंशन्ड इन नेगेटिव्स आल्सो. राइट. एग्जांपल तो 3 होंगे. एग्जांपल फर्स्ट राइट डाउन. violent strikes in Sholapur. After MG arrest, May 1930. After MG arrest, May 1930. Comma by workers. And martial law had to be applied. And martial law, MARTIAL. And martial law had to be applied. But abhi bhi, Mahatma Gandhi is not withdrawing the movement. But then what happens? अब there is a photo of नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस with सूर्य सेन, है ना, बताया था पहले. तो अब देखिए 1930 to 1933 चित्तगोंग आर्मरी रेड by Surya Sen in East Bengal. So this is how the violence is increasing, right? It is not part of the civil disobedience movement, but in general एक माहौल violence का बन रहा है ना. Surya Sen is not participating in civil disobedience movement, but violence increase हो रहा है, at least parallelly it is rising. Third was NWFP. So in NWFP, there was a person who was also known as Frontier Gandhi, Northwest Frontier Province. Frontier mane border. So it is in Pakistan today, right? Here there was a person called Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan. Ghaffar Market, named after him only. So यहाँ पे when he was arrested, after his arrest also, his followers, they also started violent protests. So यहाँ पे violence was increasing, right? So write down इसका वाला लिखिए. Violence after NWFP dash NWFP dash, violence after arrest of Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan slash Frontier Gandhi Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan slash Frontier Gandhi in Peshawar, ठीक है, मतलब पेशावर रहने दो, ठीक है, इट्स ओके, इन पेशावर बाय his followers स्लैश इनके फॉलोअर्स को बोलते थे रेड शर्ट्स, एक और नाम था खुदाई खिदमतगर्स, खुदाई खिदमतगर्स, who earlier protested against by his followers, red shirts, khudai khidmatgars, who earlier protested against harsh tax collection methods of officials, of officials, राइट। तो ये है, तो अब सस्पेंड हो गया। अब बस लिखिए गांधी इरविन पैक्ट, ये सिंपल है, कुछ नहीं, बकवास है, सारी चीज बकवास। इफ यू विल फोकस ऑन रोट लर्निंग तब तो टेंशन होगी, बट रोट लर्निंग पे फोकस ना करो, कॉन्सेप्ट पे फोकस करो। कॉन्सेप्ट बेसिक क्या है, गांधी इरविन पैक्ट 1931 वाज नथिंग है। इफ यू टेक दिस थिंग फ्रॉम मी, है ना, you take this thing from me, take it. After that we have a pact under which you give this thing back to me. तो क्या हुआ, कुछ नहीं, nothing happened ना, nothing happened, only one result was there, only actually one result, मतलब personal opinion तो ये है, this was a big defeat of Indian national movement, सीधी सी बात है, ठीक है। neither as part of the Gandhi Irwin Pact Mahatma Gandhi made it a point that commutation of death sentence of Bhagat Singh be done, ठीक है, he did not make it a issue, he's like okay I'll still sign the pact, right। second point, and that is why Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and Mahatma Gandhi, their differences they increased a lot। second point which is there is क्या मिला, बस ये मिला right to make salt, ये मिल गया था, right to make salt। otherwise क्या है, for example those people who were not charged with violence but were in jail, they were to be released। peasants, if their lands were confiscated, they were to be given back, ठीक है। अदरवाइज तो कुछ नहीं मिला ना, अदरवाइज तो कुछ नहीं मिला। ऐसा तो नहीं लिखा हुआ 50% डिक्रीज इन लैंड रेवेन्यू हो गया हो, कौन सी महात्मा गांधी की 11 डिमांड्स मान ली, इसमें काय का सक्सेस है, कोई सक्सेस है कुछ नहीं है, ठीक है। सक्सेस तो इसी, व्हाट इज, हाउ डू यू डिटरमाइन सक्सेस, भाई इफ आई हैव टू डिटरमाइन सक्सेस आई लुक एट द महात्मा गांधी 11 पॉइंट डिमांड्स व्हिच वर देयर जस्ट बिफोर स्टार्टिंग ऑफ द मूवमेंट एंड आई विल ट्राई टू सी दैट इन द गांधी इरविन पैक्ट हाउ मेनी ऑफ दोस डिमांड्स आर मेट, राइट। देयर ऐसी कि ज्यादा कुछ मैच है नहीं, वो तो स्टेटस को मेंटेन हुआ है, दोज पीपल हुज लैंड्स हैव बीन कन्फिस्केटेड देयर लैंड्स हैव बीन गिवन बैक, एंड सेकंड पॉइंट इज कि दोज हु आर इन जेल उनको रिलीज कर दिया, राइट। इन फैक्ट व्हाट आर द ब्रिटिशर्स गेनिंग, ब्रिटिशर्स आर गेनिंग आईएनसी पार्टिसिपेशन इन द राउंड टेबल कॉन्फ्रेंस, बिकॉज द फर्स्ट राउंड टेबल कॉन्फ्रेंस टुक प्लेस इन 1930, सेकंड राउंड टेबल कॉन्फ्रेंस 1931, थर्ड राउंड टेबल कॉन्फ्रेंस, मतलब राउंड टेबल कॉन्फ्रेंस में माइनस करना है, -1 थर्ड राउंड टेबल कॉन्फ्रेंस 1932, सेकंड राउंड टेबल कॉन्फ्रेंस 1931, फर्स्ट राउंड टेबल कॉन्फ्रेंस 1930, ईयर माइनस ऐसा, ठीक है। सो फर्स्ट राउंड टेबल कॉन्फ्रेंस आईएनसी डिड नॉट पार्टिसिपेट, सो इट वाज अ फेलियर। सो द ब्रिटिशर्स दे आल्सो वांटेड पार्टिसिपेशन ऑफ द इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस कि चलो वी शुड हैव सम काइंड ऑफ रिजल्ट फ्रॉम दीज राउंड टेबल कॉन्फ्रेंस, वी आर होल्डिंग सच अ बिग इवेंट, दैट्स व्हाई द ब्रिटिशर्स दे वर रेडी टू साइन दिस पैक्ट, राइट। दे क्लियरली टोल्ड वी आर नॉट कम्यूटिंग द डेथ सेंटेंस ऑफ भगत सिंह, as simple as that, and Mahatma Gandhi did not make it a point, he still went ahead and signed the pact। second round table conference will be a failure, then Mahatma Gandhi will come back। now those sections of the society who are highly nationalistic, they are disappointed with Mahatma Gandhi, they are like withdraw क्यों किया, जब आते हो चोरी चोरा करके चले जाते हो, है ना, मतलब you are withdrawing the movement, सो देवर एन हैप्पी, गांधी जी ठीक है हो गया, आप करते रहो, यू डू, वी आर नॉट इंटरेस्टेड. दैट्स व्हाई लो पार्टिसिपेशन इन द सेकंड फेज. पेजेंट्स दे सेड गांधी जी बिल्कुल हार्ट अटैक आने वाला था. द ब्रिटिशर्स हैड कन्फिस्केटेड माय लैंड्स, राइट, आई वाज अबाउट टू हैव हार्ट अटैक. वो तो चलो थैंकफुली इन द गांधी इरविन पैक्ट द ब्रिटिशर्स दे गिव माय लैंड्स बैक. अब दोबारा रिस्क नहीं लेंगे, ठीक है. ऐसा कैपिटलिस्ट सेक्शंस दे लाइक गांधी जी हो गया, फॉर 1 year वी हैव सफर्ड बिजनेस लॉस, अभी ठीक है, यू एंजॉय. कुछ नहीं. सेकेंड फेज वॉज टोटल फेलियर. गांधी जी मेड स्टार्टेड दिस अनटचेबिलिटी कैंपेन बिकॉज ऑफ सम थिंग्स कॉमन अवार्ड से तो हम देखेंगे, बट अदरवाइज कुछ था नहीं सेकंड फेज में. सेकंड फेज तो टोटल फेलियर था, टोटल फेलियर, राइट. सो राइट, गांधी इरविन पैक्ट 1931, गांधी इरविन पैक्ट 1931, इरविन 2631, गांधी इरविन 2631 पैक्ट 1931 तो लिख चुके हैं. फर्स्ट सब पॉइंट, सीडीएम सस्पेंडेड, सीडीएम सस्पेंडेड, सीडीएम सस्पेंडेड. Next, INC to participate, CDM suspended. Next, INC to participate, INC to participate in second RTC 1931. INC to participate in second RTC 1931. Next, right to make salt. Next, right to make salt. मतलब ये देखिए, ग्रेट डिप्रेशन इज गोइंग ऑन, ग्रेट डिप्रेशन, राइट. द होल वर्ल्ड was suffering, right, and the Britishers are not ready to give this jivika also to the people. They are saying right to make salt but only for personal use. गरीब आदमी ये नहीं, अब देखो मिडिल क्लास तो ये नहीं करेगा, ठीक है. तो गरीब आदमी ही कैन नॉट, पुअर मैन ही कैन नॉट इवेपोरेट सी वाटर एंड सेल दैट सॉल्ट टू द कॉमन मैन, राइट, ताकि कुछ 1-2 रुपया आ जाए घर में, यार क्या हो जाएगा, क्या दिक्कत हो जाती, राइट, ऐसा. बट ओनली फॉर पर्सनल यूज, राइट. तो ऐसा, चलो ठीक है. राइट टू मेक सॉल्ट फॉर पर्सनल यूज वॉज गिवन, राइट टू मेक सॉल्ट फॉर पर्सनल यूज वॉज गिवन, राइट टू मेक सॉल्ट फॉर पर्सनल यूज वॉज गिवन. नेक्स्ट, हाँ और कुछ नहीं, ये खत्म कर दो. राइट टू पिकेटिंग ऑफ लिकर शॉप्स. पंजाबी गाने कैसे बनेंगे फिर, हनी सिंह क्या करेगा. राइट टू पिकेटिंग ऑफ लिकर शॉप्स. महात्मा गांधी आज के टाइम पे होते इंडिया में, गस खा के गिर जाते, हार्ट अटैक आ जाता महात्मा गांधी को. डोंट यू थिंक, है ना. बीट योर सुपरस्टार, है ना, अमिताभ बच्चन, मैं शराबी हूं, है ना, ऐसा. बीट योर मॉडर्न टाइम्स, पंजाबी फिल्म इंडस्ट्री, योर म्यूजिक इंडस्ट्री, ठीक है. दारू पीनी है, दारू पीनी है, महात्मा गांधी रुक जा नहीं पीनी है. सिनेरियो, वेरी टेंशन, है ना. 4 बोतल वोडका काम मेरा रोज का. महात्मा गांधी लाइक अच्छा. यू गाइज यू हैव फेल्ड महात्मा गांधी टोटली, ठीक है. तुम ये भी नहीं छोड़ पाए, तुम क्या नॉन वायलेंस डंडे खाओगे तुम, ठीक है. कौन, तुम खा सकते हो डंडे, है. लिकर तो तुम, यू कुड नॉट लीव लिकर, है, क्यों बाजी. यू टोटली फेल्ड महात्मा गांधी. राइट टू पिकेटिंग, पॉकेट से आई ओ हटा दो, आई लगा दो. राइट टू पिकेटिंग ऑफ लिकर शॉप्स, ऑफ लिकर शॉप्स, राइट टू पिकेटिंग ऑफ लिकर शॉप. ड्यूटी फ्री बंद करा देते महात्मा गांधी अगर होते आज के टाइम पे, तो है ड्यूटी फ्री, है ना. हर आदमी, विच एवर पर्सन कम्स फ्रॉम यूएस, ड्यूटी फ्री में 4 बॉटल्स ड्यूटी फ्री, ठीक है. ड्यूटी फ्री बंद करा दे महात्मा गांधी. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, withdrawal of emergency ordinances, withdrawal of emergency ordinances. So I told you status quo, withdrawal of emergency ordinances, withdrawal of emergency ordinances. Next, release of political prisoners, release of political prisoners, release of political prisoners not charged with violence, release of political prisoners not charged with violence, not charged with violence. Next, cancelled fines, cancelled fines, cancelled fines and returned, properties confiscated and returned, properties confiscated to peasants, returned properties confiscated to peasants. Next point, but refused but refused माने ब्रिटिश refused है ना, but British refused commutation of death sentence of Bhagat Singh. Commutation of death sentence of Bhagat Singh. ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के फांसी की डेट क्या थी? 23 मार्च थी ना, 23 मार्च 1931 है ना. सो ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के अपने आप को रिमाइंड करना है, यू कैन राइट डाउन इन ब्रैकेट्स हैंग्ड इन 23 मार्च 1931. 23 मार्च 1931. ठीक है, 23 मार्च 1920 को भगत सिंह, सुखदेव, राजगुरु, दे वर हैंग्ड. राइट. नेक्स्ट इंडिपेंडेंट पैराग्राफ पॉइंट. स्पेशल कराची सेशन 1931. स्पेशल कराची सेशन 1931. स्पेशल कराची सेशन 1931. स्पेशल कराची सेशन 1931 dash here INC approved Gandhi Irwin Pact. Here INC approved Gandhi Irwin Pact. ठीक. Plus passed a resolution on fundamental rights. Plus passed a resolution on fundamental rights. Plus passed a resolution on fundamental rights. Passed a resolution on fundamental rights. Plus a resolution on national economic program. 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 ठीक. अब गांधी इज गोइंग टू गो टू लंदन टू पार्टिसिपेट इन सेकेंड राउंड टेबल कॉन्फ्रेंस. राइट. अब आप गांधी जी को तैयार कर रहे हो, यू आर प्रिपेयरिंग गांधी जी. ठीक है, वैसे तो तैयार करने की जरूरत नहीं, ऊपर कपड़े तो कुछ पहनते नहीं है, तो मतलब कपड़ों वाइज तैयार नहीं करना कि ऐसा गांधी जी, अच्छा बाल ठीक, बाल भी नहीं थे गांधी जी के, है ना, तो तैयार कर रहे हो गांधी जी को कैसे, मतलब गांधी जी यू आर गोइंग टू गो देयर. सो यू नो इन फ्यूचर प्लस सम ऑफ द डेलीगेट्स आर गोइंग टू गो. सो इन फ्यूचर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, right, just in case the second round table conference is able to give you some kind of constitution, some kind of government of India act, so what should be the provisions or what is the INC intent, right? So resolution क्या करता है? Resolution gives the intent. A resolution, if it is passed in the parliament, it tells you what is the intent of the parliament, right? So when resolutions are passed in favor of fundamental rights, so we are basically saying that whenever the Britishers they bring the next set of reforms, fundamental rights they should be there. Right. And similarly, when a resolution is passed on national economic program, there the INC is trying to suggest that what kind of economy do Indians want after this Government of India Act which is going to come, or the constitution which is going to come. Right. And because most of the India it was poor, INC was under the socialist influence. Netaji Bose, Subhash, your Jawaharlal Nehru, they were socialist. So this national economic program had many pro-poor policies, had many socialist policies. राइट. सो ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा लिखिए. declared INC intent, or what it wants, future constitution to have, plus NEP intent on how future economic progress should be. How future economic progress should be. Right? And this was based on socialist ideology. This was based on socialist ideology, that is pro-poor ideology. Right? National economic program was based on socialist ideology. Many pro-poor things were there. They can also be part of DPSPs, Directive Principles of State Policy. DPSP हुआ है पॉलिटी में? नहीं? तो अभी पॉलिटी, हाँ तो इतना दुखी क्यों हो जाएगा, हर कोई करता है पॉलिटी. In your UPSC, your success will not be determined by very famous subjects. पॉलिटी तो हर बंदा प्रिपेयर करता है यार, है ना. पॉलिटी, इकोनॉमिक्स, डिफरेंस आएगा. यू हैव टू डू पॉलिटी, वो तो सही होना ही चाहिए. एज आएगा ऑन विद अदर सब्जेक्ट्स, है ना. बिकॉज पॉलिटी तो मोस्टली स्टूडेंट्स विल बी एबल टू डिसेंटली, मतलब एक एवरेज स्टूडेंट विल बी एबल टू आंसर, बिकॉज सब लोग प्रिपेयर करते हैं ना उसको, तो सबका फोकस रहता है. जो नेग्लेक्टेड सब्जेक्ट्स हैं वहां पे आप एज ले सकते हो ऐसा. एनीवेज, राइट डाउन. सेकेंड आरटीसी सितंबर दिसंबर 1931, हेडिंग है सेकेंड आरटीसी सितंबर दिसंबर 1931, सितंबर डैश दिसंबर 1931, सेकेंड आरटीसी सितंबर डैश दिसंबर 1931. ठीक है, तो इसके अंदर बेसिकली कुछ नहीं है. दिस विल बी अ फेलियर. व्हाई दिस विल बी अ फेलियर? all the Indian leaders of different communities, they will be hell bent on separate electorates. Especially B.R. Ambedkar ji will be hell bent on separate electorates for the Dalits, right? And Mahatma Gandhi was like that if separate electorates are brought for the Dalits, then this is going to bring the two nation theory even among the Hindus, right? Plus he said that this will make untouchability permanent, because on paper also Dalits will become different, right? They are like different, right? So यहाँ पे भिड़ंत हुई and the second round table conference it failed. Plus the Britishers, they were not ready to give Swaraj or anything to us. Poon Swaraj, they were not ready to give, right? So because of these factors, your second roundtable conference came. Gandhi ji came back. ठीक है, but जाते जाते अंग्रेजों ने कहा था that if the Indian leaders, they are not able to come to a agreement on whether they should be joint electorates when elections take place, or there should be reservation with separate electorates, right? Then we are going to, if Indians are not able to agree to joint electorate, then we are going to bring a communal award which will give separate electorates to Dalits as well, right? Mahatma Gandhi could not convince B.R. Ambedkar ji, and as a result, the Britishers, they brought communal award in 1932 that also gave joint electorates to the Dalits. Now Mahatma Gandhi, he started a fast unto death, right? And then B.R. Ambedkar ji was finally convinced because of the fast unto death. It was kind of like ऐसा है ना, that Mahatma Gandhi will die, right? And finally Pune Pact was done in 1932, whereby Mahatma Gandhi agreed that there should be, let us double the reservation for Dalits, and on the other side B.R. Ambedkar ji agreed to joint electorates, right? And this is how Mahatma Gandhi prevented separate electorates for the Dalits. But now Mahatma Gandhi also started the second phase of civil disobedience movement, because round table conference is a failure, and here he made anti-untouchability campaign the major issue. Matlab the core highlight of second phase is anti-untouchability campaign. He will set up a fund called Harijan Sevak Fund, an organization called Harijan Sevak Sangh. He will do 20,000 kilometers of yatra all across India, raising awareness against anti-untouchability. However, even this was not a very big success. Why? A, the upper castes, they were not very much interested. B, the lower caste, they were not at all interested. The lower caste, they were like, Mahatma Gandhi, you are giving us dignity by calling us Harijan, that is God's people. हो गया dignity, माल लियाओ माल, इज्जत खुद ले लेंगे. जेब में पैसा होगा ना, जेब में इज्जत खुद आ जाएगी, है ना. जब गुची का चश्मा पहनूंगा ना, रिस्पेक्ट विल कम ऑटोमेटिकली. माल लियाओ माले, गिव अस पॉलिटिकल पावर, गिव अस इकोनॉमिक पावर, डिग्निटी आवश्यकता, ठीक है, थैंक यू नो थैंक यू, थैंक्स बट नो थैंक्स, ठीक, ब्रिंग अस दिस थिंग. वी वांट इकोनॉमिक एम्पावरमेंट, वी वांट political empowerment, while you are only talking about social empowerment. So we don't want anything from the upper caste, we want things, right? ऐसा तो ऐसा radicalism आ गया था. Mahatma Gandhi was kind of like, the books they say that Mahatma Gandhi came on the Indian stage late. 1920 was late. थोड़ा सा पहले आते, ये सब चीजें सोशल रिफॉर्मर्स ने करी होती. राजा राममोहन रॉय हैड ही फोकस्ड प्रॉपर्ली अपॉन एंटी कास्टिज्म, बजाय के एक सिंपल स्टेटमेंट दे दिया दैट इंडिया इज नॉट अ यूनाइटेड नेशन बिकॉज ऑफ कास्टिज्म, है ना, ऐसा बोल दिया, राइट. ओनली केशव चंद्र सेन वर्कड, बाकी फिर स्वामी दयानंद सरस्वती वर्कड, बट वो तो बहुत बाद में आ रहे हैं. स्वामी विवेकानंद वर्कड. अदरवाइज अर्ली सोशल रिफॉर्मर्स थ्रू आउट 1800s किसने काम किया? एंटी अनटचेबिलिटी पे? किसी ने नहीं. ओनली वन पॉलिटिकल लीडर इज देयर, बाल गंगाधर तिलक, right, who is working against the caste issue. For example, in the Home Rule League movement, he said that I will not recognize God as God if he says that he supports untouchability. Right. Plus, Ganpati festival also started because Ganpati, Lord Ganpati is celebrated, is revered by lower caste as well as upper caste. So in 1893, he had started Ganpati festival with the intent of caste unity. He wanted all castes to be united. But otherwise, कौन काम कर रहा है? Not much. In the non-cooperation movement, we also said that other INC leaders, they were for them anti-untouchability campaign was not a priority. Right? तो ये बहुत लेट हो चुका है अब उस चीज के लिए. अब बात थी now the issue was of political empowerment and economic empowerment. Social empowerment, not much is being done by everyone. Moderates, they are saying will not pick up social issues. In 1886, they are saying will not pick up social issues. Right? तो माने कि INC from 1885 until your 1920 is doing nothing on the lower caste matter because it is a moderate organization. तो कौन क्या कर रहा है? Right? तो बस कुछ नहीं, ये है second phase में. तो ऐसा हो जाएगा. So after the break we'll meet after 10 minutes and we will dictate this particular portion of Pune Pact, Communal Award and negatives of this Harijan campaign and negatives of the movement. Second phase. Afrin is asking, sir, these topics and contents is sufficient for history optional? Well, they are of course more than the GS. Okay, we do a lot of things, and as per the feedback by some of the batch coordinators, okay, I'll be honest, as per the feedback by some of the batch coordinators and some of the students who in the previous batches have had history optional, so they said that the content is good, right, in terms of that they are able to understand it better than the optional also, right, in that sense. But मेरा ऐसे लेके ना, because I'm teaching GS, so मेरा ऐसे लेके ना that I'm teaching as per the optional, so that is not right. Obviously in the optional more facts will come into operation, more details on personalities, for example. In the general studies we primarily focus on Mahatma Gandhi, right? So but in optional, for example, more info on the different personalities would be there. So not totally, but yes, we can say 70%, 80% or 90% also will be covered for the optional. But definitely you should read mainstream books like Shekhar Bandyopadhyay, etc. for the optional. है ना? तो मैं आपको शेखर बंदोपाध्याय सिंप्लीफाई करके प्लस बिपिन चंद्र सिंप्लीफाई करके आई एम डिलीवरिंग इट टू यू प्लस द ओल्ड एनसीईआरटी प्लस समवॉट न्यू एनसीईआरटी, बट अदरवाइज स्टिल यू शुड रीड. Right, so you can email me, I'll email you the traditional book list which is there for the history optional. Right, so apart from that, sir, please discuss plan, last point again. Which plan? National Economic Program or NEP? NEP was nothing but, for example, there should be focus on pro-poor policies, there should be focus on minimum wages, there should be focus on pro-peasant policies, that is lower land revenue, right? So pro-poor things are there, this kind of scenario. That government-owned enterprises should be there, which इस प्रकार से आपका socialist एक angle है उसके अंदर. Sir, is the date necessary for Dandi March to be mentioned in the answer? No, it's not necessary, but because it is easy to remember, Dandi March, March 1930, so therefore that's why mentioned. तो free का एक fact मिल रहा है, March, so that's why. Yes, I opted and the content for GS is not sufficient, but हम जिस तरीके से पढ़ाते हैं, we go in much more detail as compared to other GS classes, right? ऐसा. Sir, your classes and don't break your heart, and we all love your classes. Enjoy. अच्छा हाँ, thank you. Sir, there is a movie named Gandhi, My Father about his son. Is it based on real story because he was completely opposed to MG? No, I have not seen that movie, so I cannot comment. So can we say that constructive work failed every time Mahatma Gandhi tried? No, constructive work. See, Mahatma Gandhi is serving a huge amount of this thing positive for the movement, right? For the Indian national movement, there is a utility of Mahatma Gandhi, right? But the point is कि Indian national movement is not just about Mahatma Gandhi. There are many unsung heroes, for example like Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, for example like the revolutionaries. So therefore it is like Mahatma Gandhi is a big or the number one contribution, but culmination of the Indian national movement was by the Indian National Army, right? For example, famously it is said that Clement Attlee, he visited India in 1952 and there he met, for example, the governor of Bengal, right? So governor of Bengal asked him that why did you leave India? You had won the World War II also. Right, so he basically said that Azad Hind Fauj made it impossible for us to stay here. Why? Because of the INA trials, etc., which take place, INA agitations which took place. So we were not sure about the loyalty of the army anymore. So ultimately, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose was able to fulfill the dream of the revolutionaries of causing disaffection in the army, right? And then he was also asked that what was the impact, माने कि immediate impact, not the overall impact. Overall impact में तो Mahatma Gandhi contribution in Indian national movement is number one, because he is generating nationalism, he is bringing different sections of the society together into the Indian national movement, right? He is conducting mass movements, so that credit is obviously of Mahatma Gandhi, right? But with respect to the decision of exiting India, that culmination part, it was played by the Azad Hind Fauj. So there, Clement Attlee said, so question was asked that how much, मतलब उसमें भी dispute है that whether this conversation actually took place or not, but otherwise the Bengal governor, he was into the habit of having his memoirs. He was also the acting chief justice at that particular point of time of the Bengal High Court, Calcutta High Court. So he said minimal. What was the contribution of Mahatma Gandhi in New Leaving India? He said minimal. ठीक है ऐसा. Clement Attlee, who is the Prime Minister of Britain when independence is being given to India, right? But वो उस time के लिए है. That is in 1947. What was the immediate reason, right? But overall Indian national movement, obviously number one contribution of Mahatma Gandhi, but immediate reason was ऐसा, right? So therefore किसी भी movie में या किसी उसमें multiple contributors आते हैं, सबका अपना role रहता है, right? So very important role, but in the last phase was of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, but पूरा जो momentum बनाया था, that was by your Mahatma Gandhi, right? So सबका positive है, we have to think positive about everyone, right? ऐसा, okay. CPI is Communist Party of India. Sir, Bhagat Singh wanted Indian youth to join Indian national movement, and CDM was one of the good platform for INM. Huh? But it is like you are my brother and you are going to be hanged, right? And yes, you do not want me to do such activities which will get me hanged. So what will be my emotions? I'm like, sorry, I'm not agreeing to your plea, right? यही रहेगा ना? if Bhagat Singh to is asking the youth, right, that you join Indian national movement, but what will be the emotions of the people who love Bhagat Singh? Their emotion will be, they will not accept, you know, what Bhagat Singh is saying. They're like, अच्छा, सिर्फ तू ही met, only you will become a martyr, right? है ना? That's ऐसा emotion रहेगा ना, right? So ऐसा. Sir, why would the no rent campaign have hurt unity? Because rents are paid to the Indian zamindars, and therefore it will create Indian versus Indian issue. Indian peasant who is a tenant will say, I'm not going to pay rent to the Indian zamindar. That's why. Sir, what is emergency ordinances? So when civil disobedience movement started, so the government was prepared that just in case the situation goes out of hand, we are going to make some. Ordinance is basically a law which has a life of 6 months until it is passed by the house, right? So emergency provisions like preventive detention, more suppression of the press, these kind of, you know, holding a person without trial, that is imprisoning a person without trial, these kind of scenarios, right? Emergency ordinances, ऐसा. Sir, what is meant by DM was suspended? CDM was suspended. Civil disobedience movement was suspended. DM नहीं, CDM, right? तुम अभी से IAS बने बैठे हो, तुम अभी DM. What is GD 1929? Great Depression 1929. What is RTC? Round Table Conference, है ना? तो ऐसा है. Sir, how untouchability campaign was a civil disobedience in second phase? It was not a civil disobedience. माने कि Mahatma Gandhi in the second phase, he said, continue to do what you were doing in the first phase. Plus, I'm also going to focus on an awareness campaign. That is your Harijan campaign. That is anti-untouchability campaign. It has no relation with civil disobedience, no relation with non-cooperation, but it is what? It is the biggest constructive work activity for the Dalits which is being taken up by the Mahatma Gandhi. Sir, once please explain tax finance trade. So tax finance trade used to function like this, that for example, instead of bringing, basically it is like the taxpayer money, the people, me and you, we pay taxes to the government. So this money is with the government and this money is used to buy Indian goods. माने कि our money it is used to buy Indian goods. अब वो कैसे होता था? So instead of bringing forex into India, the importers of Indian goods used to give forex to the Secretary of State for India in London. He used to give them a piece of paper, माने कि एक check देता था, उसको बोलते थे council bills. So now instead of bringing forex, that is gold, to India, he will bring that check to India. He'll give that check to the government of India, that is British government of India. British government of India will keep the check. He will give him money. This money is your and my money. This is taxpayer money. And with this Indian money, this person will buy the Indian goods and will go. Checks are getting deposited with the British government of India. Therefore, whose money it is utilized? Our money. Ideally, these checks, they should be given to the Secretary of State for India. He should give us forex. That transaction never took place. हाँ जी, आजादी के बाद क्या भारत सरकार ने कभी मांगने की कोशिश नहीं की? बुक्स दे बेसिकली से दैट ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ मनी, माने कि अभी तो मुझे फिगर नहीं पता, बट बिलियंस ऑफ डॉलर्स यू कैन से, राइट, बिलियंस ऑफ डॉलर्स और मिलियंस ऑफ डॉलर्स, दे वर टू बी पेड एज अ डेट बाय द ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट टू द इंडियन गवर्नमेंट. दैट वाज रिटन ऑफ. रिटन ऑफ माने माफ. इतने अमीर आदमी हो यार आप, माफ कर दिया आपने, जाओ एंजॉय, है ना ऐसा. राइट सर, वाई यूथ चूज रेवोल्यूशनरीज एज पर भगत सिंह सेक्रीफाइस, हाउएवर भगत सिंह वांटेड द यूथ. सो वही मैं कह रहा हूं, भगत सिंह के चाहने से क्या होता है यार, हम भगत सिंह को चाहते हैं वो फांसी चढ़ रहे हैं, ठीक है, तो हम कैसे पीछे रह जाएं? आपके अंदर तो एक धधक होगी कि देश के लिए मरना है. खाली भगत सिंह मरेंगे क्या? विल ओनली भगत सिंह डाई? भगत सिंह कहते रह जाएंगे मत आओ मेरे पीछे, डोंट कम बिहाइंड मी, बट पीपल विल से सॉरी वी आर नॉट लिसनिंग टू यू. दैट इज हाउ इमोशंस वर्क, है ना, ऐसा रहेगा. सर वंस प्लीज एक्सप्लेन, वो तो कर दिया टैक्स फाइनेंस ट्रेड. आरआर मूवी किस हिस्ट्री से इंस्पायर्ड है? उसमें स्पेलिंग ऑफ किस जो है KIS होना चाहिए, KISS लिख दिया तुमने. Biswajit is saying, sir, you look like 90s hero. मतलब a hero who has aged now, but was young in 90s, है ना ऐसा, right? Why we return of checks? ठीक है सर, was तैयब जी part of डांडी मार्च? तैयब जी देखना पड़ेगा, ठीक है, वो एक बार आप चेक करिए. अभी आते हैं वापस इस पे, राइट. सो नाइट राइट डाउन फर्स्ट सब पॉइंट ऑफ सेकेंड RTC. failed because deadlock over failed because deadlock over deadlock LOCK deadlock over minorities pact. Failed because deadlock over minorities pact. As all minorities demanded separate electorates, as all minorities demanded separate electorates, including Dalits led by B.R. Ambedkar. Including Dalits led by B.R. Ambedkar. While INC opposed. Which student will tell me that on what grounds will INC oppose? On what grounds माने I want some topic, name of topic. Why will INC reject separate electorates? So 1916 में तो accept किया था लखनऊ पैक्ट में. So where did INC rejected separate electorates? I want name of a topic. अगर मगर नहीं चाहिए. 2-word answer is there. नहीं, I want a topic which we have discussed. Why will INC oppose separate electorates? Divide and rule नहीं, टॉपिक है, टॉपिक मतलब कि टॉपिक है, हाँ नहीं टॉपिक है, मतलब टॉपिक मतलब इवेंट है, ऐसा समझ लीजिए. वेरी गुड. नेहरू रिपोर्ट ना, कॉमन सेंस देखिए इसमें. अब आप कहेंगे सर ये तो रट्टा हुआ, ये तो मैं रटना पड़ेगा सर. आंसर इज नेहरू रिपोर्ट. रटने की जरूरत नहीं है. कैसे पढ़ना है हिस्ट्री ये देखिए. थोड़ा सा स्टोरी यू हैव टू रिमेंबर, अदरवाइज एवरीथिंग इट इज कॉमन सेंसिकल. Why you are in the round table conference? For the future constitution or for the future government of India act, right? And before the round table conference, where has INC suggested that this is all that we want in the future constitution? That is where, that is मतलब INC कुछ भी कहेगा, whatever INC will speak in the round table conference, right? It will speak on the basis of what? ऐसा कुछ हुआ था क्या? INC ने, did INC say something before the RTC that this is the kind of constitution that we want? Answer is yes. Nehru report of August 1928, where they had given principles of future constitution. And their one point was no separate electorates. And this Nehru report was by APC, not INC, all party conference. Right? So what is the consensus among all the parties except for, let's say, Muslim League. The consensus is no separate electorates. ये अलग मैटर है that वहां पे कुछ minority leaders and they are now saying that no, we want separate electorates. Right? So therefore INC is sticking to the position of the Nehru report, August 1928. So bracket में स्टार लगा लिखिए. मॉडर्न हिस्ट्री अगर आप लिंक करके पढ़ेंगे, एक चेन बना के पढ़ेंगे, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं आएगी. एंड चेन कैसे बनानी? ऐसे जो मैं ब्रैकेट में स्टार बना के लिखवाता हूं, दिस रिजल्ट इज यूजुअली अचीव्ड आफ्टर 3 रिविजन्स और 4 रिविजन्स और 5 रिविजन्स. कि अच्छा ऐसा था क्या, अच्छा ऐसा क्या था. बट आई एम कॉन्स्टेंटली मेकिंग राइट ऑन. दैट्स व्हाई आवर नोट्स आर बिकमिंग बल्की, बिकॉज लॉट ऑफ ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के, राइट. बट ये चेन है, ठीक है. एंड ड्यूरिंग द टाइम पीरियड ऑफ रिविजन आई एम प्रिवेंटिंग यू फ्रॉम टर्निंग द पेजेस. राइट, वाई? जो पेज टर्न करके समझ में आना था वो दैट वी आर राइटिंग इन द ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के. सो रैशनल है. आई एम ट्राइंग टू ब्रिंग लॉजिक इन टू हिस्ट्री विच इज यूजली कंसिडर्ड रोट लर्निंग. राइट, सो दिस इज द लॉजिक वाई दे विल ओपोज सेपरेट इलेक्टोरेट्स, because it is a stated position of the Nehru report by APC, no separate electorates. So that is why, as simple as commonsensical hai. Why will INC change its stand when it has taken the stand in the APC that yes, no separate electorates, or it has overall been accepted? This is the position of all the parties. So why will INC change the stand? It will naturally oppose. And concept जो आपने बताया, national unity. So मुझे topic वाला आंसर चाहिए था. जो आपने आंसर दिया, दैट नेशनल यूनिटी, ऑब्वियसली सेपरेट इलेक्टोरेट्स हर्ट्स नेशनल यूनिटी, है ना. सो ये है व्हाइल आईएनसी ओपोज्ड, ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के लिख दिया, फुल स्टॉप. प्लस ब्रिटिश रिजेक्टेड डिमांड ऑफ पूर्ण स्वराज, प्लस ब्रिटिश रिजेक्टेड डिमांड ऑफ पूर्ण स्वराज, प्लस ब्रिटिश रिजेक्टेड डिमांड ऑफ पूर्ण स्वराज. इन ब्रैकेट्स 1929 गोल, 1929 goal of INC, 1929 goal of INC, brackets closed. Full stop. This led to resumption. This led to resumption. This led to resumption of CDM. This led to resumption of CDM. Second phase. Stage नहीं, phase. वो planning वाला 2 stage था. ये तो बाई चांस इवेंट्स आर अनफोल्डिंग इन सच ए मैनर दैट सीडीएम इज टेकिंग प्लेस इन 2 phases, राइट. वो जो 2 stages थी वो सिर्फ फर्स्ट फेज के लिए ही हो गई थी, राइट ना, ऐसा. सो दिस लेड टू रिजम्पशन ऑफ सीडीएम्स सेकेंड फेज इन ब्रैकेट्स 1932-34, इन ब्रैकेट्स 1932-34. ठीक, अब इसी का ही पार्ट है ये सब चीजें. दे आर हैपनिंग व्हाइल द सेकेंड फेज इज गोइंग ऑन. सो नेक्स्ट sub topic you write down communal award 1932, communal award 1932, communal award 1932, also known as or slash McDonald's award, McDonald's award. So McDonald was the prime minister, Ramsay McDonald, right? McDonald, बट यहाँ पे MAC है, खाली MC नहीं है, वहां पे लिखा हो मैकडोनल्ड बर्गर. मैकडोनल्ड्स अवार्ड डैश, मैकडोनल्ड्स अवार्ड डैश brought by British dash, brought by British. Award is like a declaration, you know, decision ऐसा. Brought by British as consensus, brought by British as consensus, could not be reached by Indian leaders, बोल दो. Consensus could not be reached by Indian leaders. Brought by British as consensus could not be reached by Indian leaders on joint electorates. On joint electorates. Full stop. It gave separate electorates also. It gave separate electorates also to depressed classes. So technical name for Dalits was this, depressed classes. Technical name will become scheduled caste after GY 1935, right? It brought separate electorates, or it gave separate electorates also to depressed classes. Bracket में स्टार लगा के लिखिए, called scheduled castes from GY 1935 onwards. Legally, मतलब ये लीगल नेम का, वाई? बिकॉज द शेड्यूल माने कि ये लिस्ट वॉज क्रिएटेड, उसमें कास्ट्स के नाम लिखे गए, यू रोट डाउन द नेम ऑफ द कास्ट एंड देयरफॉर शेड्यूल्ड कास्ट्स, राइट? उससे पहले डिप्रेस्ड क्लासेस बोलते थे, लीगली ये नाम है डिप्रेस्ड क्लासेस. फुल स्टॉप. आईएनसी नीदर एक्सेप्टेड, आईएनसी नीदर एक्सेप्टेड नॉर रिजेक्टेड इट, INC neither accepted nor rejected it. As it was being demanded, as it was being demanded, as it was being demanded by depressed classes themselves, as it was being demanded by depressed classes themselves, as it was being demanded by depressed classes themselves. In brackets स्टार लगा के, that is not imposed by British. Not imposed by British, है ना? If the Britishers were imposing it, तब तो oppose करो. But when people on our side itself, they are demanding it, so who are you to reject it? हमारी डिमांड में it would have been undemocratic, right? Rejecting would be undemocratic. Rejecting is equal to undemocratic. भाई तुम चौधरी हो क्या? Who are you? Who are you? Right? So you build consensus, you convince the scheduled castes how you can impose. So it is undemocratic because the demand is coming from the depressed classes themselves. It is not being imposed by the Britishers. That is why they took neutral stand. That neither we accept it, we are not accepting it because it divides the country, and it is against the Nehru report. Plus, we are also not rejecting it because rejecting it would be undemocratic because it is not being imposed by the Britishers, it is being demanded by the depressed classes themselves. Right? Next heading, right on, Pune Pact 1932. Pune Pact September 1932. Pune Pact September 1932. All of these things are going on when this civil disobedience movement वो resumption चल चुका है. ठीक है, ये सब events parallelly चल रहे हैं. Pune Pact 1932 September. Dash. MG was against communal award. MG was against communal award as it would divide Hindus permanently. As it would divide Hindus permanently. As it would divide Hindus permanently. As separate it क्या है यहाँ पे? Separate electorates. It क्या है यहाँ पे? Separate electorates. Communal award is synonym for separate electorates, है ना? As it would divide Hindus permanently and make untouchability permanent. And make untouchability permanent. And make untouchability permanent. But he was not against. But he was not against greater reservation. But he was not against greater reservation. But he was not against greater reservation for depressed classes. Greater reservation for depressed classes with joint electorates. Greater reservation for depressed classes with joint electorates. With joint electorates. Full stop. MG started fast unto death. MG started fast unto death. Therefore convinced. MG started fast unto death. Therefore convinced. B.R. Ambedkar. MG started fast unto death. Therefore convinced. B.R. Ambedkar. B.R. Ambedkar to sign the pact. B.R. Ambedkar to sign the pact with MG. To sign the pact with MG. Full stop. Pact rejected. Communal award 1932. Pact rejected. Communal award 1932. and reservation for depressed classes was nearly doubled. हर जगह नहीं, मतलब सेंटर में तो oblique increased, nearly doubled, oblique increased, dash from 71 to 147, seats, 71 TO 147, from 71 to 147 seats in PLAs, 71 to 147 seats in PLAs, and 18% reservation in CLA. 18% reservation in CLA. 18% reservation in CLA, है ना? एक ऐसा ही रिकॉल कर लेते हैं. सो व्हाट इज CLA? व्हेन डिड CLA केम? गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट 1919, है ना? सो आप ये लिख सकते हैं ऐसे ही. अगर आपको याद नहीं है तो लिखिए, अगर याद है तो मत लिखिए. GOI 1919 रिप्लेस्ड ILC of 1861, ILC 1861 with ILC 1861 and PLCs of 1861 with सेंटर में क्या आ गया था? CLA and COS plus PLAs, है ना? At times the books they continue to use word PLC but technically PLA आ गया, बस वो रीनेमिंग है ना? ऐसा है, मतलब इट्स लाइक अ न्यू बिल्डिंग विच इज क्रिएटेड, राइट? सो 1861 Indian Councils Act brought the Imperial Legislative Council and Provincial Legislative Councils. They are being amended in 1892, further amended in 1909, destroyed in 1919, and new building created in the form of bicameral legislature of Council of States, that is the upper house, and the Central Legislative Assembly, that is the lower house, है ना? ऐसा रिकॉल कर लेना चाहिए, ठीक है? नेक्स्ट राइट डाउन, नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, CDM सेकेंड फेज. अब थोड़ा सा मूवमेंट की साइड आते हैं. CDM सेकेंड फेज, ठीक है? तो थोड़ा सा इस पे फोकस अप कर लेते हैं. CDM सेकेंड फेज, राइट? सो राइट डाउन. Now MG launched campaign. Now MG launched campaign against untouchability. Now MG launched campaign against untouchability by setting up setting up Harijan Sevak Sangh. By setting up Harijan Sevak Sangh. By setting up Harijan Sevak Sangh. 1932 में हो रहा है सब चीज. 1932 हरिजन सेवक संघ, माने कि महात्मा गांधी इज अ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन मैन, एंड देयरफॉर व्हेनेवर ही स्टार्ट्स एनी प्रोजेक्ट he always would want an organization. This organization should speak, so therefore some newspaper should be there. This organization should speak by walking on the ground, so therefore some campaign should be there. Money is required for all of this activity, so maybe a fund can be there. As simple as that. If you remember, Mahatma Gandhi is an organization man, and if you understand that how to run an organization, for example, let's all of us, if you want to start a movement for all India UPSC aspirants, what we'll do? First we'll set up an organization, All India UPSC Federation. After that we'll start speaking. So we should have a magazine, or we should have a website, or we should have a social media page. Then in those we will list out our demands. Then we may do some protests on the streets also. Right? We may do some protest on the streets also. ठीक? ऐसा. Plus for all of this some money is required, so maybe we'll contribute funds also. ऐसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन होती है, कोई भी काम करना होता है ऐसे करना होता है. तो यही सब है. इफ वी फोकस ऑन द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन तो याद करना बहुत आसान है, राइट? ऐसा. तो यहां पे वही है, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इज हरिजन सेवक संघ प्लस हरिजन मैगजीन 1933, हरिजन मैगजीन 1933, हरिजन मैगजीन 1933 प्लस हरिजन सेवक फंड फॉर कैंपेन प्लस हरिजन सेवक फंड फॉर कैंपेन, हरिजन सेवक फंड फॉर कैंपेन। गांधी जी ऐसे ही करते हैं, गांधी जी ऑर्गेनाइजर हैं, ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा लिखिए। पहले कब किया था गांधी जी ने ऐसा? ऐसा तिलक स्वराज फंड भी क्रिएट किया था फॉर द एनसीएम, राइट। सो गांधी जी फंडेबाज हैं, फंड्स बनाते हैं। तिलक स्वराज फंड इन एनसीएम, है ना। तो ये एक दीज आर लाइक कॉमन थिंग्स। इफ वी अंडरस्टैंड दैट महात्मा गांधी इज अ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन पर्सन फॉर विच फंडिंग इज रिक्वायर्ड, सो फाइन फाइन, ठीक है। तो ऐसा है। सो राइट डाउन प्लस 20,000 kilometer march. So now Mahatma Gandhi is coming on the streets also. 20,000 kilometer march plus 20,000 kilometer march to increase awareness. 20,000 kilometer march and 20,000 kilometer march and two fasts fasting, two fasts for increasing awareness and two fast 20,000 kilometer march and दो बार fast किया, क्यों किया? टू इंक्रीज अवेयरनेस। 20,000 किलोमीटर मार्च एंड टू फास्ट टू इंक्रीज अवेयरनेस, ऑब्वियसली अगेंस्ट अनटचेबिलिटी, राइट। नेक्स्ट राइट ऑन रिजल्ट। नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, रिजल्ट ऑफ सेकेंड फेज, रिजल्ट ऑफ सेकेंड फेज। फर्स्ट सब पॉइंट, रिजल्ट ऑफ सेकेंड फेज, फर्स्ट सब पॉइंट, low response for CDM, low response for CDM due to demoralization, low response to CDM during due to low response to CDM due to demoralization, due to withdrawal, due to suspension of first phase, due to suspension of first phase. Next point, at the rate untouchability, dash, at the rate untouchability dash, neither upper castes nor lower castes, neither upper castes nor lower castes, enthusiastic, neither upper castes nor lower castes enthusiastic about Harijan campaign, enthusiastic about Harijan campaign, enthusiastic about Harijan campaign. Full stop. LC were, LC माने lower castes were becoming more radical. Full stop. Lower castes were becoming more radical and less interested in reconciliation, and less interested in social reconciliation, less interested in social reconciliation. Full stop. Wanted political and economic empowerment, wanted political and economic empowerment, and not just social dignity. Wanted political and economic empowerment and not just social dignity, and not just social dignity. Next, government repression did the rest. Government repression did the rest. Government repression did the rest. Therefore, CDM ended. Government repression did the rest. Therefore, CDM ended in 1934. CDM ended in 1934. CDM ended in 1934. Full stop. Second phase was a failure. Second phase was a failure. Second phase was a failure. But INC benefited. But INC benefited overall from CDM. But INC benefited overall from CDM. In 1937 elections. In 1937 elections. In 1937 elections. Under GOI 1935. 1937 elections under GOI 1935. 1937 elections under Government of India Act 1935. Now write down heading Government of India Act 1935. Government of India Act 1935. Government of India Act 1935. So अगर मुझे सोचना हो that Government of India Act 1935 is product of what? So A, I will think that there would be a legal reason. That was there some commission which was set up? Was there some round table conference which was held? Was there some Nehru report which was there? That is from a legal perspective. What are the legal things which are happening because of which this act is coming? Right? So Simon Commission is there, Nehru report is there, 3 round table conferences are there, 1930, 31, 32. And these are the things which are contributing to the Government of India Act 1935 ka formulation. Right? If I look at the movement perspective, that is pressure perspective. So from the pressure perspective, pressure created by the revolutionaries in the form of IRA, that is Chittagong Armory raid by Indian Republican Army of Surya Sen 1930-33. If I look at the pressure created by the political movement, that is your civil disobedience movement 1930-34, right? These are the things. So because of these factors, we can say that Government of India Act 1935, it is coming, right? So what are the reasons? So write down reasons is equal to Simon Commission. Reason is equal to Simon Commission report, June 1930. Simon Commission report, June 1930. Nehru report, August 1928. 3 round table conferences, 1930, 31, 32. Plus movement wise अगर देखा जाए, so therefore your revolutionary activity or IRA led what you call as Chittagong Armory raid, CA raid लिख देते हैं, ठीक है ना, Chittagong Armory raid 1930-33. Obviously contribution of Bhagat Singh, sacrifice of Bhagat Singh, right? So Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev, Rajguru, Chandrasekhar Azad, etc. Right? So overall, मतलब revolutionary activities, है ना? And plus, if you look at the political movement perspective, so civil disobedience movement 1930-34. So these are the things which are contributing. These are the things which are contributing. Movement wise, ये contribute कर रहे हैं. Legality wise, वो contribute कर रहे हैं. है ना? So these are the reasons. So why the Britishers they brought Government of India Act 1935? Because A, Indian national movement is creating pressure, and plus certain commissions, committees, etc. they are contributing. ठीक? ये इवेंट्स है, इंडेक्स बनाया ना हमने एक तरीके से इवेंट्स का. हाँ जी. Simon Commission was set up in 1927. It is taking 3 years, and finally it is coming out with the report that this is how the future Government of India Act should look like. So the report came in 1930 June, and in a way we can say that since this report came in June 1930, so commonsensically in the roundtable conference also the Simon Commission report would be forming a basis for discussions. But this is my view. Britishers will be saying, but this is our view. इंडियंस व्हाट इज योर ओपिनियन, ऐसा रहेगा, राइट. सो एनीवेज नेक्स्ट पॉइंट राइट डाउन, बैकग्राउंड में ही, रीजंस में ही. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, रीजंस में मतलब क्या, मतलब रीजंस हो गए, एक इंडिपेंडेंट पैराग्राफ पॉइंट आप बैकग्राउंड का बना लीजिए, बैकग्राउंड, राइट. साइमन कमीशन, साइमन रिपोर्ट ऐसे लीजिए, साइमन रिपोर्ट, साइमन रिपोर्ट, साइमन रिपोर्ट recommended, Simon report recommended, Simon report recommended replacing diarchy at provinces. Simon report recommended replacing diarchy in provinces, replacing diarchy in provinces with fully responsible government, with fully responsible government, with fully responsible government, with some emergency powers with governors, with some emergency powers with governors, with some emergency powers with governors. And did not want any change, and did not want any change, and did not want any change, and did not want any change at center, and did not want any change at center. Full stop. Plus separate Burma from India, plus separate Burma from India, plus separate Burma from India, plus give full province status, give full province status to NWFP, give full province status to NWFP, and separate Sindh, and separate Sindh from Bombay, and separate Sindh from Bombay, and separate Sindh from Bombay. As full province, as full province, मतलब यूटी नहीं बनाएंगे इसको, you'll make it full province, as full province. ठीक. Second background point, first RTC 1930 dash, first RTC 1930 dash, first RTC 1930 dash. So it was a failure because INC is not participating. So Britishers, they realized that without INC participation, whatever we decide here, कोई फायदा नहीं है, right? So it was a failure. So write down first RTC 1930 dash. Princely states and non-INC parties, princely states and non-INC parties, princely states and non-INC parties participated, and non-INC parties participated, and the latter demanded, and the latter माने कि non-INC parties from British India, the latter demanded a federal government, and the latter demanded a federal government, a federal government, a federal government of India, a federal government of India, a federal government of India, that is a union having, that is a union having. मेरे लिए एक ब्लैक कॉफी मंगा देंगे प्लीज. पिछली वाली में कॉफी कतई नहीं डाली थी उन्होंने, ऐसा लगा गर्म पानी पिला दिया है. And a federal government of that is a union of, that is a union having British India and 565 PS, a union having British India and 565 PS, माने कि 565 princely states. Full stop. First RTC is equal to failure. First RTC was failure. First RTC was failure. As British realized that it is meaningless without INC participation. As British realized, it is meaningless without INC participation. It is meaningless without INC participation. Therefore signed Gandhi-Irwin Pact 1931. Therefore signed Gandhi-Irwin Pact 1931. Therefore signed Gandhi-Irwin Pact 1931. Next, write down second RTC 1931. Second RTC 1931. INC participated. Second RTC 1931. INC participated. INC participated. But demands of federation, and responsible government at center, demands of federation and responsible government at center, अगर आपको हल्का सा भी डाउट हो रहा है, लग रहा है कि पता नहीं क्या लिख रहे हैं रिस्पॉन्सिबल गवर्नमेंट, ठीक है, तो गो बैक टू योर गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट 1919. हमने क्लियरली डिस्कस किया था व्हाट इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल गवर्नमेंट. रिस्पॉन्सिबल गवर्नमेंट इट बेसिकली मीन्स दैट द मिनिस्टर्स दे आर कमिंग फ्रॉम द लेजिस्लेचर. The legislature, it is having direct elections. That means people's representatives, they first enter into legislature. From the legislature, ministers come, and these ministers, they are going to handle all these subjects. That is no transfer, no reserve, all these subjects with Indian ministers. This will be a responsible government. If you still have any confusion, look around. Presently in India, we have a responsible government. Right? So that kind of system we wanted at center. Right? So Indian demands, that is demands of federation and responsible government at center, were rejected. Next, write down third RTC 1932. थर्ड आरटीसी 1932. अच्छा, वो मैं नहीं लिखवा रहा हूं. माइनॉरिटीज पैक्ट, कन्फ्लिक्ट, वो तो हम पहले लिख चुके हैं सेकंड आरटीसी में. हम फोकस कर रहे हैं कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल एस्पेक्ट्स पे. थर्ड आरटीसी 1932. थर्ड आरटीसी 1932 डैश was just a formality and was unimportant. Due to very low participation from Indian side. Was just a formality and unimportant due to very low participation from Indian side. Very low participation from Indian side. Right? Now, if someone asks us a question that whether the Government of India Act 1935 was a product of self-government, answer is no. Why? Simon Commission did not have any Indian. Right? Nehru Report 1928 as such never accepted by the Britishers. INC wanted that RTC should act as a constituent assembly. Britishers rejected it. Irwin rejected it. First RTC, INC did not participate. Third RTC, INC did not participate. Second RTC, INC participated, but it was a failure. And then Government of India Act 1935 is coming. That means overall can we say कि Indians they had no say. इंडियंस की कहीं कोई बात ही नहीं मानी गई. मतलब ऐसा तो नहीं था दैट दिस वाज अ एक्ट विच वाज फ्रेम्ड बाय द इंडियंस. ना ही साइमन कमीशन में इंडियंस है, ना ही आरटीजीज में है इंडियंस, बट आरटीजीज दे आर फेलिंग. सो देयरफॉर इंडियंस के कहने पे तो ये नहीं बना है. इट इज नॉट अ प्रोडक्ट ऑफ इंडियन वॉइस. राइट? सो राइट डाउन साइमन कमीशन 1927 had no Indians. Simon Commission 1927 had no Indians. Simon Commission 1927 had no Indians. Plus no INC participation in first and third RTC. Plus no INC participation in first and third RTC. Plus second RTC failed. No INC participation in first and third RTC. Plus second RTC failed. Therefore, GOI 1935. Therefore, GOI 1935 not a product of Indian participation. Not a product of Indian participation and self-government. Not a product of Indian participation and self-government. and therefore was opposed by Indians, and therefore was opposed by Indians, and therefore was opposed by Indians, and therefore was opposed by Indians. So write down features at center and first subpoint. Features at center and first subpoint. So what was proposed by the Government of India Act 1935? एक याद करने का तरीका है, मतलब बाकी सारी चीजें हम भूल जाएं, एक छोटी सी चीज याद रखें विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द सेंटर. ऐसा है zigzag, माने कि लेट्स से दिस इज सेंटर एंड दीज आर प्रोविंसेस, राइट. नो रिस्पॉन्सिबल गवर्नमेंट एट सेंटर and partially responsible government via hierarchy at provinces. This was done by 1919. In 1935, what is the proposal? They are moving this here and they are bringing fully responsible government here. मतलब याद करने के लिए hierarchy at provinces 1919, then hierarchy at center in 1935. Right? This is a fully responsible government at provinces. Right? So this is like progress. And what we are able to see, what is the progress? That earlier, no responsible government at center and partially responsible government at the provinces in the form of hierarchy. Hierarchy माने reserved subjects and transferred subjects. Transferred subjects under Indian ministers and reserved subjects under governor. Transferred subjects law making by the PLA, reserved subjects law making by the governor. Right? ऐसा. So this is partially responsible government. Right? Now what do they give? They are basically saying partially responsible government at the center and all subjects is equal to transferred subjects, that is fully responsible government at the provinces. माने कि आज के जैसा chief minister more or less, obviously governor will be powerful still, but आज के जैसा today like chief minister at the provinces. This is what they are saying. Are you able to notice that even after so much of sacrifice of revolutionaries and civil disobedience movement, एक चीज आप नोटिस करिए. अच्छा एक और चीज बता दो मस्त वाली, ऐसी पैटर्न 1882 में क्या हुआ था? सेंटर, प्रोविंसेस, लोकल. सेंटर में नो रिस्पॉन्सिबल गवर्नमेंट, ये स्टेटस था. नो रिस्पॉन्सिबल गवर्नमेंट, ये स्टेटस था. बट लोकल में रिपॉन, ही हैड ब्रॉट रिपॉन 8084, ही हैड ब्रॉट सेल्फ गवर्नमेंट. एक पैटर्न देखिए. इफ लुक एट अ पैटर्न, इफ यू आर फोर्सिंग द ब्रिटिशर्स टू गिव पावर, दे गिव पावर एट लोअर लेवल. You put more pressure, they give power at state level. That also partial. You put even more pressure, they give power, full power at state level, but still want to reserve something at the center level. Important things they want to reserve. So see, they are always after the center. And after so much of struggle, अगर वो आप देना भी start करेंगे, so Indian national movement, if it is a RE, right? So therefore the Britishers, they'll first give the easiest thing, local self-government. Then the Britishers are giving partial things at state level. Then the Britishers are giving full things at state level and partial things at center level. So they, what is the plan? Plan is India पे कब्जा रखना है, तो central government पे कब्जा रखना है. The plan is if you do not want to leave India, if you want India under you, so fine. इतना रो रहे ना ये लोग, these people are crying, doing so many movements, etc. Give them self government at lower levels, but center don't give. See the pattern. Right? This is the intelligent thing which is there. And you see, इन्होंने कुछ नहीं है, बहुत चालू टाइप के लोग हैं. Ultimately, I will make you understand central level provisions that we are going to write, they were never implemented. Right? Why? Because of certain things. Certain legal clauses were there. Right? So after 1935, central government ran like this. That is as per Government of India Act 1919. And provincial government ran like this. माने कि सेंटर छोड़ा ही नहीं इन्होंने. दे नेवर लेफ्ट द सेंटर. दे नेवर लेफ्ट द सेंटर. एट मैक्स हमारी जो इंडियन नेशनल मूवमेंट थी, इट वाज एबल टू एक्सट्रैक्ट पावर एट द स्टेट लेवल. सेंटर पे वी कुड नॉट एक्सट्रैक्ट द पावर. वी कुड नॉट एक्सट्रैक्ट द पावर. ये है ब्रिटिशर्स का. ठीक है. सो बिना खड़क बिना ढाल दे दी हमें आजादी. दैट इज द इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस टू पंच देम आउट. ठीक है, वरना these people are like leeches, they'll not leave you by requesting, right? Huge amount of contribution of Mahatma Gandhi, but these people are leeches, right? They are heartless, इनका हार्ट नहीं चेंज होगा महात्मा गांधी. दिस वॉज दी कॉल ऑफ नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस, राइट? एंड ऐसा हो रहा है, राइट? ठीक है, तो ये है. एनीवेज, राइट डाउन एट सेंटर फर्स्ट सब पॉइंट. ये तो मैं आपको समझाने के लिखा, अब फर्स्ट फीचर आपको लिखते हैं. ठीक है, प्रोवाइडेड फॉर फेडरल स्ट्रक्चर, प्रोवाइडेड फॉर फेडरल स्ट्रक्चर, प्रोवाइडेड फॉर फेडरल स्ट्रक्चर फॉर होल ऑफ इंडिया, प्रोवाइडेड for federal structure for whole of India. That is first time, that is first time, that is first time proposal, that is first time proposal, first time India to be a union, that is first time India to be a union, first time India to be a union of British India and 565 PS. First time India to be a union of British India and 565 PS. And 565 PS. Comma with federalism. Comma with federalism. Comma with federalism. ये डिमांड हमारी भी थी. इन ब्रैकेट्स डाल आगे लिखे, Nehru Report 1928. Nehru Report 1928. Brackets closed. So Nehru Report 1928 had demanded that there should be a single India. Right? Government of India Act 1919 was only for British India. So bracket में स्टार लगा, दोबारा लिखिए. GOI 1919, GOI 1919, GOI 1919 and earlier acts dash only for British India. GOI 1919 and earlier acts only for British India, brackets closed. Only for British India, brackets closed. This is the first act where the Britishers are bringing a law which will be for whole of India, that is princely states as well as British India. Government of India Act 1919 was only for British India, right? Next point. But this needed signing off, but this needed signing off instrument of accession, but this needed signing off instrument of accession, in brackets IOA, but this needed signing off instrument of accession, instrument of accession, in brackets IOA, again in brackets. This was mentioned in section 6 of GOI 1935. Instrument of accession is equal to section 6 of Government of India Act of 1935. Section 6 of Government of India Act of 1935. So this needed signing of instrument of accession to Union of India, instrument of accession to Union of India. Full sentence हमारा बनेगा. This needed signing of instrument of accession to Union of India, to Union of India by at least 50%, by at least 50% of, by at least 50% of Indian rulers of 565 PS. 50% of Indian rulers of 565 PS. First off, this was never done. This was never done. Therefore, central level provisions, never came into force. Central level provisions never came into force. Central level provisions never came into force. Next point. Princes did not sign IOA because Princes did not sign IOA because Achha, tell me what is the relationship of the princes with the Britishers? The name is paramountcy. Paramountcy, that was the relationship, that is the British crown and the Indian prince, right? So paramountcy, adoption हो गया था, ठीक है, 1858 में, है ना. Policy of paramountcy तो 1813 से थी, but a legal relationship of paramountcy between the British ruler, British king or queen, and between the Indian prince. This relationship was called paramountcy, right? Now, as per the Government of India Act 1935, paramountcy was not to be ended, but Union Government of India would have powers of defense, communication, and some other things over the princely states. As a result, what will happen? The princely state will feel that I have two bosses. That I have two bosses. One, a new boss called Union Government of India, and the previous boss, that is the British Crown. So they did not want two bosses. Second thing, if defense is there with the Union Government, then for military, contribution can be requested from the princely states also. That see, we are spending 100 rupees on the military, please contribute money. And because defense is with the Union Government of India, so it can use force also, it can give a direction also, that nikal 40 rupees, give 40 rupees. Right? So therefore, the princes, they felt that our financial autonomy, our financial independence will be hurt if we sign the instrument of accession. Accession mane exceed karna mane entering into a union, right? Instrument of accession, it is like marriage. Instrument of accession is like marriage, right? You accede, you become part of one family, right? So that is why they are not signing the instrument of accession, because 50% of them, they never signed, right? Another thing was 565. So smaller princely states, they felt that we are not allocated enough number of seats in the central legislature, because 565 are there. Some of the princely states are very, very small in size. 565. Even today, India has only 28 states. 565. So you cannot give one seat each to each prince, right? So what he is thinking? He is thinking, I am a smaller Raja, but still a Raja. What the Britishers will be doing? That 20 princely states, smaller princely states, you come together, you send me one person to the central legislature. 30 princely states, I am clubbing you together, I am giving you one seat in the central legislature. 40 princely states, you come together, I am giving you 2 seats in the central legislature. Bigger princely state, Hyderabad, I am giving you 3 seats or 5 seats or 7 seats, whatever, in the central legislature. So smaller princes, they are like, we are dissatisfied because we are not allotted proper seats. मतलब उनको लग रहा है कि मतलब we should have greater say, right? So they're like, sorry, हमें नहीं लगता हमारी कोई बात भी सुनी जाएगी. We don't think any of our thing will be listened to, right? So this is why they do not sign. So write down. हमने क्या लिखा? Princes did not sign IOA because dash first sub point. Paramountcy was not abolished. Paramountcy was not abolished. Paramountcy was not abolished by GOI 1935. Paramountcy was not abolished by GOI 1935. Therefore did not want another authority over them. Therefore did not want another authority over them. Therefore did not want another authority over them in form of union government. Did not want another authority over them in form of union government. In form of union government. Plus, second sub point, there was fear. Second sub point, there was fear. There was fear of loss of financial autonomy. There was fear of loss of financial autonomy to the union government. There was fear of loss of financial autonomy to the union government. To the union government. That was to have subjects like defense. That was to have subjects like defense, communications, defense, communications, defense, communication, and foreign affairs. Obviously, the foreign affairs will always be with the consent of what the British government says, right? Defense, communication, foreign affairs, right? Third sub point, smaller princely states unhappy with low representation at center. Smaller princely states unhappy with low representation at center. Fourth sub point, ये इंटरेस्टिंग है. फोर्थ सब पॉइंट पहले लिख लेते हैं फिर समझाता हूं. फियर ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी. As then INC could launch movements even in 565 PS. See, when you are part of one country, you cannot prevent people from one part to come to another part. Abhi to you're not part of one country, right? So therefore you can put border controls. But once you are part of Union of India, so how will you prevent INC members from entering into the princely states and starting their activities, launching a branch in the princely states? So they felt that if we become part of a single India, then this INC will start a movement for democracy and people, वो मेरे लोगों को भड़काएगी for democracy. So that is why, right? So that is also, so these are the 4 reasons because of this princely states are not signing, right? 2-3 पॉइंट्स और लिख लेते हैं फिर बाकी नेक्स्ट क्लास में कंटिन्यू करेंगे. नेक्स्ट इंडिपेंडेंट पैराग्राफ पॉइंट फीचर लिखिए. बाय कैमरल लेजिस्लेचर एट सेंटर, पहले भी थी अभी भी है, बट दिस लेजिस्लेचर इज फॉर होल ऑफ इंडिया. 1919 वाली लेजिस्लेचर वाज ओनली फॉर ब्रिटिश इंडिया. बाय कैमरल लेजिस्लेचर एट सेंटर, that is Federal Assembly, and Council of States. Federal Assembly and Council of States. So Federal Assembly lower house, Council of States upper house. Federal Assembly and Council of States. Next, 1/3 members to be nominees of princes. 1/3 members to be nominees of princes. 1/3 members to be nominees of princes in FA, in Federal Assembly. Full stop. This eliminated chances of INC majority. This eliminated chances of INC majority at center. Technically no, but practically yes. If 33% seats are reserved for the princely states, so now 67% seats are there. INC would be required to get a 50% mark to get majority. Plus you have separate electorates where the religious parties, they can do well in the reserved seats. So practically it will be very tough for the INC to be in majority at the center. So therefore that is the reason because of which this kind of scenario it is taking place. Next point, life of COS is equal to permanent. Life of COS is equal to permanent. Life of COS is equal to permanent with 1/3 members retiring every year. Life of COS is equal to permanent with 1/3 members retiring every year. With 1/3 members retiring every year. जब आप पॉलिटी पढ़ेंगे आपको ये और ज्यादा अच्छे से समझ में आएगा. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, लाइफ ऑफ FA, फेडरल असेंबली. लाइफ ऑफ FA इज इक्वल टू 5 years, जैसे आज के टाइम पे लोकसभा की लाइफ है. लाइफ ऑफ FA इज इक्वल टू 5 years. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट थोड़ा सा वियर्ड है, ठीक है. डायरेक्ट इलेक्शंस टू COS, डायरेक्ट इलेक्शंस टू COS, direct elections to COS and indirect elections to FA Usually lower house में direct elections होते हैं, upper house में नहीं होते, but यहाँ रिवर्स है. right? Probably because of administrative, that less number of people may be having right to vote with respect to elections of COS. तो ये reason थोड़ा सा tough है जानना, मैंने search किया but नहीं मिला कुछ भी, but ऐसा weird है. Probably administrative reasons होंगे that when you are holding elections, direct elections for the Federal Assembly, so maybe more number of people will be having voting rights. कुछ ऐसा होगा, don't know क्या reason है, but ऐसा weird है. Next point, right to vote, R2V, right to vote, R2V, right to vote to more Indians, right to vote to more Indians, right to vote to more Indians. But still, only 10% got R2V, but still only 10% got right to vote due to income criteria. But only 10%, but still only 10% got right to vote due to income criteria. Full stop. Intent was to prevent INC support base. Intent was to prevent INC support base. क्या है INC support base? INC is socialist organization. So poor worker, poor peasant, poor, not able to qualify income criteria. Therefore, INC will not be able to do that well, maybe. है ना? So intent was to prevent INC support base, that is poor workers and peasants. Intent was to prevent INC support base, that is poor workers and peasants. That is poor workers and peasants from having voting rights. From having voting rights. Next point, separate electorates continued. Separate electorates continued. Separate electorates continued. Next point, reservation for SC, scheduled castes. Reservation for scheduled castes in all legislative bodies. Reservation for scheduled castes in all legislative bodies. आप अगर याद करेंगे गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट 1919 में क्या था, GY 1919 लिखे, रिजर्वेशन नॉमिनेटेड सीट्स में रिजर्वेशन दिया गया था, बट यहां पे अभी इलेक्टेड सीट्स में भी रिजर्वेशन दिया जा रहा है टू द डिप्रेस्ड क्लासेस और टू द शेड्यूल्ड कास्ट्स, राइट. सिर्फ जो नॉमिनेटेड सीट्स थी वहां पे रिजर्वेशन था 1919 में, बट नाउ इवन इन द इलेक्टेड सीट्स यू आर गेटिंग रिजर्वेशन, है ना. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, रिजर्वेशन ऑल्सो फॉर विमेन, रिजर्वेशन ऑल्सो फॉर विमेन एंड लेबर. Reservation also for women and labor. Labor माने working class. So obviously workers, they will not be able to have right to vote, but a seat is reserved or some seats are reserved for the leaders of the working class. Workers, they will not be able to vote, but at least working class के जो leaders हैं who claim that we are leaders of the working class, they can become members, right? ऐसा. Next point, first time federal distribution of subjects. First time federal distribution of subjects between center and states, between center and provinces. नहीं ऐसा कर लो, first time federal distribution of subjects into, first time federal distribution of subjects into federal comma provincial, federal comma provincial and federal comma provincial and concurrent list. फेडरल कॉमा प्रोविंशियल एंड कंकरेंट लिस्ट. ठीक है. व्हाट डू मीन बाय फेडरल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन? फेडरल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन मीन्स दैट इज ओरिजिनल, नॉट बासी. बासी भीख में मिली हुई नहीं, ओरिजिनल जुरिसडिक्शन, ओरिजिनल अथॉरिटी. दिस इज द मीनिंग ऑफ फेडरल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन. I had given you the example, whether you own the car or you drive the car which is given to you by your father. So in Government of India Act 1919, there was division of subjects between the center and the provinces, but we had mentioned that it was not federal distribution, right? Now it is federal distribution. That is, the provinces, they get the power over subjects directly from the constitution. In Government of India Act 1919 क्या था? All subjects they belong to the center. For administrative convenience, center gave some subjects to the provinces. माने कि who is the original owner? The center. But यहाँ पे ऐसा नहीं है. So federal distribution of subjects. Next, बस 3 लाइन और 3 लाइन है यार, 3 लाइन सच्ची, गिरो गिरो मत यार, बस 3 लाइन. तबियत ठीक है? हैं? You're okay? रोना आ रहा? Why you feel like crying? Is he actually crying? He does not want federal distribution? Okay, for you I will leave the class. ठीक है? But after 3 points. Just 3 points. Just 3 points. थोड़ा हौसला हो बे, खिलाओ बे. छोटे छोटे पॉइंट्स हैं फालतू के. 80% बजट, 80%, थोड़ा थोड़ा ऐसा ऐसा है, ऐसा करना है ऐसे. 80% budget still not votable. 80% budget still not votable. Plus Viceroy could restore 80% budget still not votable. Plus Viceroy could restore cuts in grants. Plus Viceroy could restore cuts in grants. Cuts in grants. Cuts in grants माने the government requested, Mr. Parliament, I want to spend 100 rupees on this particular scheme. But the Parliament said, I am putting a cut. I am not granting you 100 rupees. You will spend only 70 rupees. Viceroy now says, Mr. Parliament, get lost. I am going to spend 100 rupees only. So that is the meaning of restoring the cuts. You have restored the cuts. Plus residual powers to Viceroy. Center को भी नहीं है, state को भी नहीं है, to Viceroy है. Residual powers to Viceroy. Residual powers, you understand? That is, if there is any confusion that this subject is in provincial list, federal list, concurrent, then it is automatically with center, right? Or to Viceroy. Plus Viceroy had veto powers. Plus Viceroy had veto powers. Viceroy had veto powers. That means any bill that comes, he can veto. Plus ordinance power. Viceroy had veto powers plus ordinance power. And power to certify rejected bills. And power to certify rejected bills. And power to certify rejected bills. That is, Parliament rejected the bill, but still bill will become a law. ठीक है, अभी कुछ नहीं यार, लास्ट के एक्चुअली बस हमारी 36 क्लासेस हैं, तो आज कौन सा 34th है ना, तो बस 2 क्लासेस और हैं. ठीक है, एट मैक्स शायद से 37 हो जाए, बट 36 में आई विल रैप अप. ठीक है, तो बस ऐसा थोड़ा सा ऐसा थोड़ा सा ऐसा बस है ना, राइट. लास्ट, अरे 3 पॉइंट बोले थे, अभी तो एक ही लिखवाया, 2 पॉइंट तो लिखवाऊंगा. अरे यार तुम लिखो ना यार तुम, अरे अरे इतने में तो एक पॉइंट लिख लेते. डायरकी एट सेंटर, डायरकी एट सेंटर, डायरकी एट सेंटर, डायरकी एट सेंटर, that is reserved and transferred subjects, that is reserved and transferred subjects, reserved and transferred subjects. Full stop. Reserved example, reserved example, reserved and transferred subjects, full stop. Reserved example, defense, internal security. Reserved के examples हैं defense, internal security, foreign affairs, foreign affairs, church, church and tribal areas, church and tribal areas, church and tribal areas, right? ठीक है, ऐसा. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, मतलब इसी में लिख लीजिए ट्रांसफर्ड। यार ये लिखवा नहीं रहा फिर मैं, आप मतलब वही है ट्रांसफर्ड, आप समझ गए ना, ट्रांसफर्ड टू बी लेजिस्लेटेड अपॉन बाय दी दिस थिंग एंड मिनिस्टर्स टू बी दिस थिंग, ठीक है, तो वही है सेम है, ठीक है, कोई नहीं लिख लीजिए फिर भी यार, फिर ट्रांस लिखिए रिजर्व्ड अंडर टोटल कंट्रोल ऑफ, ऐसा लिखिए रिजर्व्ड अंडर टोटल कंट्रोल ऑफ वाइसरॉय, रिजर्व्ड अंडर टोटल कंट्रोल ऑफ वाइसरॉय, रिजर्व्ड अंडर टोटल कंट्रोल ऑफ वाइसरॉय, while transferred to be legislated upon, while transferred to be legislated upon by central legislature, and to be administered by legislated upon by central legislature माने कि COS and FA, and to be administered by ministers responsible to legislature, administered by ministers responsible to legislature, and viceroy to function on aid and advise, and viceroy to function on aid and advise of these ministers, in transferred subjects, Last point, fiscal autonomy to GOI, that is transfer of financial control, slash budget of British India, from SOS, from Secretary of State, SOS to Viceroy, Therefore, GOI 1935, reduced powers of SOS, and increased powers of Viceroy, and Jawaharlal Nehru, and Nehru said, and Nehru termed, TERMED, termed this, and Nehru termed this as the only major change, brought by GOI 1935. ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के ये वाली लाइन बस लिखनी है। I hope now you understand, but this is like our own linkage. किसी ने नोटिस किया कि why Secretary of State was giving budget speech? This budget was of India in 1906. Why? Because the final authority on the budget of India was Secretary of State till your Government of India Act 1935. Right? That's why we said Morley's budget speech of 1906 hinted at future council reforms. Water came in the mouth of the moderates. Therefore, Surat split 1907 took place, where extremists were thrown out of the Congress. Right? So you see, this is how the linkage is. Right? So in the next class, we'll talk about provincial level features of Government of India Act 1935. Thank you for your time. God bless you. Take care. Bye bye. जब ऐसे टाइम पास आने लगता है ना, जैसे मुझे पता है मैं टाइम एक्सीड कर रहा हूँ, 8:30 बज गया आज, लास्ट वाली क्लासेस में ऐसा ही हो जाता है, तो मैं क्या करता हूँ, मैं ऑनलाइन के ना कमेंट्स देखना बंद कर देता हूँ। ठीक है, मुझे पता वहां कुछ गालियां पड़ रही होंगी, बताता हूँ, देखो क्या कह रहे हैं। सर आज कॉफी है पानी में। सर यू सेड 1-3 पॉइंट्स। कराओ सर जोड़, वो तो जल्दी भी नहीं लिख पा रहा, जोड़ ही लिख पा रहा है। सर आप तब बूस्टर ले लेते हो कॉफी से। प्रीत यादव सिंह, अबे यार, लेट अस डू बॉयकॉट। ठीक है, सो थैंक यू, गॉड ब्लेस यू, टेक केयर।